amendments. Ashish was initially part of service tax team of the firm and advised various leading companies on issues related to service tax like liability, classification, exemption, and credit optimization strategy. So I would like to invite Mr. Ashish Philip to begin the first session.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Today in the session we'll be covering topics from Fpme, GST, and customs. Before getting into the topics, I just want to take a 2 minutes to introduce the firm we are representing. We are part of a firm called Rashmi and Sridharan. Many of you might be aware. Firm has been set up in 1985. It's more than 30 years. Set up by two brothers. Mr. Rashmi is his elder brother. He's based out of Delhi. He's advisor to Government of India, Nidhi Aayog, Gift City, etc. Today, the firm has grown to 450 lawyers spread across India, 14 offices. We practices in both advisory and litigation. In part of advisory, in general corporate drafting agreements, regulatory, RBI, FEMA, SEBI, and litigations in before the IBC, NCLT, High Court, etc. Similarly, in the customs and GST, we advise on the various changes, amendments, etc., and represent the client from the Commissioner Appeal all the way to Supreme Court on the various matters. It's a broad firm profile. When we are discussing the individual, we'll take in the trade challenges and from our perspective, we being the exporters, we like always we deal with the AD bank on various aspects of the trade, like whether it's a merchanting trade transaction, whether you MTT or you export payment need to come, you import payment need to come, you need to import and export, do the setup. We have various time at the mercy of this. For next 15 minutes, what we like to address is that RBI has come out with a draft guideline, which is going to change the current import and export guideline, which came in 2016. 2013 guidelines today guides the AD bank. So power is such that most of the powers are delegated by RBI to AD bank, but still RBI controls as the major powers. The new policy shifting as per the government initiative ease of doing business or having a more smoother environment to promote exports from India is that delegate the powers of RBI to AD bank. AD bank discuss with the trade, come out with their own policy to enable. So draft guidelines was in the for public comment till 1st of September. So they asked for the comments from the trade to make the representation. So new guidelines may come in end of December or beginning of 1st of April as the timeline to do. So many simplifications are there on merchant trading, set off, etc. We will be dealing with each other. As soon as you see FEMA, the things comes into the FEMA, India foreign currency is not a freely convertible foreign currency. We are dependent on RBI to decide where we can use. So FEMA governs our investment outside India, investment into India, our loan giving guarantee. That is, those are the things are capital account transaction. Second set of MI is the normal trade transaction. We simply purchasing, importing goods, exporting goods, the normal trade. So capital account transaction, some restriction there. Current account transaction after 1991, most of the current account transaction, import and export for most of the sectors is automatic route. We can do except if there's a delay in timeline, etc. Today, when you import something, you need to make the payment within 6 months. If you don't make the payment within 6 months, it's an offense under RBI. The new guideline, what they're saying is that there's no timeline limit. It's up to the parties to agree when should I make the payment. I can import, I can make the payment if the agreement says 2 years, after 2 years, without any permission. Today, you need to go to RBI for permission if more than 6 months or more than 3 years, specific permission RBI. Till 3 years, we can go with the AD bank. But export, India need to realize the foreign currency. The timeline of 9 months to realize will be continuing. earlier regulation had an option of merchant export. You export, warehouse export. You export to an agent, you can store there. Once you get the customer, sell it. That has been done away. Timeline given is 9 months. We have made a representation that there are a lot of industry in India who stores the goods, make available the good, so that easy delivery happens. So the provision should be made available. We need to see in the final guideline when it comes how things are going to come. Today, when you are filing goods, exporting goods, you are no requirement of forms. The shipping bill we file with the custom automatically comes to the bank. That is the form. There's no export declaration form. Again, in the new regime, they're bringing back the export declaration form. They're saying that in addition to what you're filing with the custom, a separate form need to be submitted with the AD bank. What does the form will say? Form will say the goods are exported is what is the value of the goods, by when we are going to realize the payment. So general declaration of export EDF form, and they are making it mandate for service. Today, service sector exporting from India, no form is required. They are bringing back the forms. Liberalization to MTT, merchant trade transaction. After Nirav Modi scam, etc., banks were reluctant to do the merchant trading transaction. Relaxation has been given that today, to do a merchant trading transaction, it's compulsory that we should have a profit in the trade. If there's no profit, we cannot do the trade. There are restrictions in paying commission for a merchant trading transaction. Those things has been relaxed in the new regulation. The merchant trading transaction can be done only for the goods which are permitted under FTP. So what is the meaning of what is permitted under FTP is still a debatable. During COVID, a company was buying gloves and masks from Indonesia and supplying to US and UK. Bank said you could not do. It was challenged in the High Court. High Court said that if export from India is restricted, import to India is restricted, that item you cannot do merchant trading. They're relaxing now. Like how far in the public policy it will go, we need to see. Next aspect we like to touch is that new concept introduced on INR payment. Government of India, man-no receipt of payment, they said that earlier every export except for Nepal and Bhutan need to be realized in foreign convertible currency. Law has been changed to say that any export you can realize in INR or any currency. That's a new change. So now when you talk about INR, how the mechanism is going to work. So normally when you export, if you want to reduce the foreign currency fluctuation risk, what usually people do is that we bill in INR. We say that dollar going up, dollar going down, I should get 100 INR. But payment we will be receiving in foreign currency, bank will credit in INR to our account. The new mechanism is something similar to what we had when the sanctions were there with Iran or Russia. INR to INR settlement. India will export to countries where INR mechanism is implemented. Example, UAE. We import oil. We tell UAE that we'll pay in INR. When we export to UAE, this INR mechanism will be used to set off. Are we getting any incentive, etc., as exporters? Today, as the law stands, we are not getting any incentive. But what is happening is that it is strengthening our currency. It's going to make India currency more acceptable. To make that happen, like today, dollar, euro, etc., are more acceptable currency. This is brought as an exporter. Earlier we are getting INR, now also we are getting INR. We are not getting any incentive as of today. They might incentivize for more exporters to move to INR, but today no. But as a country, it is strengthening our value of our rupee. So coming to trade settlement in INR, any currencies allowed? Yeah. So still there is a gap between the Fpme regulation and the FTP regulation. When Dathan explains about the customs field, in the Fpme says that any convertible currency. Fpme says that Fpme says any foreign currency. FTP customs, which talks about exports, still use foreign convertible currency. They are not amended. Maybe new FTP policy come, they will have it. Till that time, what need to be happening? Regarding export to the sanctioned country, Iran or Russia, are we in violation of Fpme? As per RBI, when you export to any of these countries where US sanctions are there, we are not in violation. Our banks may be having a problem in settling EBRC, etc. RBI has clearly said if it's a UN based sanction, then you are not allowed to export. If it's a country specific, OFAC, etc. countries, US, UK, European Union sanctions, India is not bound by it. But our banks might have exposure in US, UK, etc. because they might not be able to trade it. So when we export, no problem. EBRC might not be generated, will not be generated, but that is fine. The entry being open in the system is fine. Being merchant exporters, one thing we need to be clear that we export $100. After bank realization charge, some quality issue discount, we realize only 80 rupees, $80. $20 remain. Our export entry in the IDPMS, EDPMS, similarly in the IDPMS remains open. We should be very clear that we should try to close as much entries as possible by licensing with AD Bank. Entry being open, it's a very innocent mistake. Like digitalization happened from 2014-16. All the entries are not there. If entries are more than 3 years, RBI is saying that you should be put in caution list. You should not be allowed to, etc. Strictly implementing it. But we have seen in the last 2 years after COVID, they sending the matter to caution list and referring the matter to enforcement directorate to come and explain. Enforcement director has 100 things. But when they come for this thing, they first check is it's a bona fide transaction. If it's not a bona fide transaction, they ask for other things. So we should have enough documentation why a entry is not closed in the EDPMS or IDPMS. Backup, writing, there can be many reasons. I exported goods of X quality. Customer is saying the quality is not bad. So we say I give a discount of 40%. I need to realize some money. So those kind of situations, document and inform AD Bank and keep. This is broad things. Few other topic on merchant export and reduction export by my colleague Pratish.
Yeah, hi all. So now coming to the reduction in invoice value and getting it written off from the system. As per the existing provisions, we can get the invoice reduced up to a limit of 25% of the invoice value. So if the invoice value is of 100, you rupees back or $100 back to India, you can reduce the value up to a limit of 25%. This is per se invoice. Now, if the draft regulations as it stands, if they get implemented, there's a specific concept that if more than 25% is allowed to be done, the banks will have their own internal policies documented and a board approved decision will be taken if you want to exceed beyond the 25% limit. As on date, if you want to exercise beyond 25%, you need to specifically go to the RBI. This is with respect to the reduction in invoice value. Now coming with respect to the write-off provisions. Write-off would come in a situation in which the foreign party is not traceable. They don't have enough funds to pay you, or there's any other kind of dispute, quality dispute or any other things. You exported a goods worth 100 rupees. They are saying, no, I can pay you only 20. I can pay you only 80. Or they say, I'm not going to pay you a single penny. These are the situations which can arise in write-off situations. Since Ashish sir also mentioned, it's very prudent for the companies to get the EDPMS and IDPMS entries cleared as soon as it's possible. So keeping an entry open in the very detrimental to the company. What can be done is there's a provision of 5% self write-off, which the companies can avail. There's another option of 10% write-off, which can be availed through the help of the AD bank. And then beyond 10% of writing it off, necessary applications required to be made to the RBI. Now, this is as per the existing provisions. In the new provisions, which will be implemented, we see a similar provision with respect to the reduction in invoice and set and write-off, both coming to a limit of 25%. Banks will be able to give you a 25% write-off or reduction in invoice value. Beyond that, again, the banks will have its board approved policy and the decision will be taken on that ground. Now, with respect to the write-off part, this 5% and 10% is not applicable to the invoice value. This is 5% of the realized export proceeds in the preceding financial year or in the preceding calendar year. Same for the 10% limit also. Now, surrender of, yes. Yes, yes. So, yeah, correct, sir. Yeah. So we'll take an example of a company who has exported goods worth $100 in the previous calendar year. And as on date, they have also exported goods worth, let's say, $100 only. Now, this export was done in the month of February. Now they are required to realize the export proceeds within a period of 9 months. So let's say by November, they are required to realize the $100 amount. The situation is that the company has gone insolvent, or they have said there's a penny. There can also be cases of this financial difficulties that might also arise. You might also be able to get in a situation where they say that we'll pay only 50% of the amount. Now, if you go with the write-off provisions, as on date, you can self-write off up to a limit of 5% of the previous year's realized export proceeds, which is 5% of $100, which comes to $5 only. So as on date, if you want to write off your present day $100 invoice, you will be able to do it only up to a limit of $5. Still, $95 is required to be realized. If you would exercise the AD Bank's route, they will allow you to reduce it up to a limit of 10%. So 10% of the present $100 invoice would come to 10, and then you'll be still required to realize $90 out of it. Beyond this 10%, necessary applications are required to be made to the RBI. RBI on a case-to-case basis and seeing the bona fide of the transaction will allow or might deny also. Now, under the new regulations, which will be coming into force, what will happen is banks will be allowed to exercise the 25% limit of the realized export proceeds. So what will happen is you firstly had a right to do a self write-off. No self write-offs would be allowed under the new regulations. Only the bank will have the limit to grant you the exemption of the 25% limit. So if they give you 25% relaxation, still you will be required to realize 75 from the present invoice value. I hope this made it clear. Yes, sir. So, sir, under the present situation, you might go with the 5% self write-off and do it. However, under the new regulations, they have completely deleted the self write-off provisions, and AD Bank's route will be required to be taken for 25%. Even you have to go to the AD Bank, to the bank. No, so bank will. Yes. No, so self write-off is a 5% limit which is available as on date. Under the new regulations, they say there is no specific provision for self write-off. There's only one kind of write-off which is allowed, that is AD Bank's write-off, and AD Bank's write-off has been increased from 10% to 25%. So up to a limit of 25%, AD Bank will grant. So even if you go for 2%, then also it's the AD Bank route. Even if you go for 25, it's the AD Bank. Yes, correct. So presently, if the customer is insolvent, there are 2-3 cases in which the AD Bank has been granted enough powers to completely exempt. So in those situations, as on date also, AD Bank has the power to completely write it off. If there's an issue or in which embassies are involved, if there are issue of company going under insolvency, and you can provide a certificate of insolvency in from that foreign jurisdiction, in those cases, presently also, AD Bank has the power to get it exempted up to the limit of 100%. Yes. So with respect, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Amount is allowed. No, it's the entire. Yes, yes. Available cumulatively. Yes.
100% reduction in realizable export
Yes.
value.
So as on date, if anything is required for write-off or reduction beyond 10% limit also, we are required to go to the RBI for getting specific approvals. In the present situation, RBI is saying, I don't want to deal with these trade issues. I'm delegating powers to the AD Bank. They can decide based on their board approved policies. So up to 25%, AD Bank at your level itself, at your regional office itself, they will allow you the 25% limit. Beyond that, there will be a centralized bank policy. So there will be specific policies of each bank. They will see their own internal policy, and based on that policy, they may allow you beyond 25%. You need not required to go to the RBI and that's it.
So is this no? So it's a draft regulation. Just see what details RBI comes out with, or AD Bank comes out with. On it. Because yeah, RBI has given a direction to say that I don't want to look into AD to look at, but AD need to frame the policy. Let us see what policies AD Bank comes out.
So this might also happen. So a situation might happen for bank shoppings also. So if one bank is not allowing a particular trade, you might jump off to the other bank. So these situations are also there, but the industry has made representations to ensure that these kind of mechanisms are not put forward because of these lacunas in the draft regulations. No, so in that situation, what will happen? It will be a situation in which you have taken an advance from a person and you are required to export the goods. If he is not confirming whether he wants a particular product A, B, you are not in the position to supply the products. It will eventually lead in a situation in which you are holding a foreign exchange for which you don't have any correct explanation. RBI allows you to export the product within a period of 1 year. If this doesn't happen, AD Bank might allow you to hold it till the period of 3 years. Beyond 3 years, you will not be able to ever give it back, and RBI and ED might knock your doors as well.
So from FEMA perspective, I don't see any challenge. It will be, we can treat it as a income for us. But let Nirav tell us what will be the tax implication if we treat it as income. Yeah.
More clear to you, then only our coming here is basically fruitful and as well as yours.
Hello. Sir, for a single invoice or US dollar invoice, if you are getting two different currencies, how to settle this in the bank? USD and Euro.
No, your invoice USD and
Our invoice is in your USD, but we are getting half payment of USD, half payment from Euro.
so legally from FEMA perspective, there's no problem. Like you are exported a goods, you have received the foreign convertible currency. Problem is coming from the AD Bank perspective, how they are able to adjust. We don't see there should be any problem for AD Bank. They have a system problems. So their softwares are made in such a way that one foreign currency will be recognized against one EBRC, one shipping bill. There's a software or technological problem than a law problem. Law says that export realize. As long as you realize both the currencies, total value, your FEMA obligation is fulfilled.
Oh, thank you.
No, so for FEMA purposes, we should realize the payment. They have realized the payment. Because in both the situation, as an exporter, we are receiving in INR. US dollar got converted to INR, Euro got converted to INR. So we realize for exporting $100 our invoice, $40 in dollar. So 40 converted to 40 rupees, 16 euro converted to 55 rupees. So 55 plus 45, we receive 95 for exporting $100 because conversion keep changing, etc.
So
Correct. Even any of the schemes of the policy, if you avail, then you are supposed to realize the payment in freely convertible currency. So therefore, on that date of realization, the other currency will get converted into this currency, which is mentioned in the shipping bill. And basis that only you will be able to fulfill, suppose advance authorization, EPCG, etc., you will be able to fulfill the export obligation. So other currency will get converted into the currency which is mentioned in the shipping bill. Yes. As is saying, from India, from AD banker perspective, they will convert into INR. So therefore, so far as we receive or bank receives in INR, you have fulfilled the exports, whatever the requirement. Correct. Yes.
Just one.
So-
Explain the sir, you have to add.
I'm sorry, have you satisfied him, his query?
No,
Okay.
call your question. We don't see any legal challenge. It's more of procedural challenges for the question. Yeah, you write a letter and over. Let us read it.
So I have one experience of this personally where Sri Lankan export, Sri Lanka did not have any, and it was US dollar. Then European or IMF played through euros, and bank took 2 months. But finally, what you said happened. They converted to the shipping bill currency, and whatever fluctuation of rate there, we had to take the hit. But at least the money was received. But it took me 2 months because they had to involve Citibank and other banks which were not earlier involved, because the IMF payment was there. So in that case, it happened. But you'll have to work out with the bank, and if the bank is able to good service, they should be able to do it.
Just one extension of what the gentleman had asked. Like there's an advance come from a customer and 9 months still he has not been able to export. But what happens if within 9 months the exporter remits back the money, saying that this is not an issue? This has come by mistake, or this is by oversight, whatever.
Whenever we deal with a foreign business, try to document the terms, all the terms, payment, delivery, all this thing. So you receive the payment, there's a clause that you should confirm to this thing. He's not confirming. You simply show, I received the payment, I was supposed to export, he cancelled the contract. Since he cancelled, I'm not exporting, I'm returning. If our agreement, our clauses are not there, it's very difficult for us to explain to any bank. We don't see any challenge in cancelling and sending the money back within 1 year.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
When payment is received in advance, even AD banker also would ask the explanation, no, against what this payment is received. So this, suppose if you are not able to export or service or goods, then in any case, if I return the payment, then transaction will get nullified, no?
So when you receive the payment, India is very happy to receive the payment. When you want to send the money back, only AD bank will ask the question. AD bank, where is the agreement? 9 months.
Yeah, but even holding on the payment also would be a challenge, no?
No. So we have seen situations where there's no contract, only email is there. Money has come. And now supplier is saying send back the money. AD bank is saying that no, you take RBI approval, go to RBI. When we went to RBI, RBI is saying that tell me whether did you ask some supplier in outside India to supply, what is the money going? The questions become, if the document is clear, it's easier. Otherwise, like supplier is not asking. We have seen a situation where supplier is not asking, then we can take it as our revenue. It might have GST and other implications, but from our purpose, we can take it as revenue if supplier is not asking.
Correct.
So just touching upon the concept of merchanting trade. So merchanting trade transactions involves one Indian intermediary and two overseas parties. What happens in that situation is one Indian intermediary places an order from an overseas supplier of, let's say, laptops, and he also locates one of the overseas buyers situated in another jurisdiction. He wants 100 laptops. So while sitting in India, I ask country A's seller to give it to country B's buyer. So this transaction does not involve the movement of the goods into the domestic tariff, and there's a supply of goods from one country to another. These kind of transactions involve two legs. One is the import leg, another is the export leg. Import leg from the perspective when the Indian intermediary is placing the order with the overseas seller, and the export leg when the Indian intermediary is selling that products to the overseas buyer. Two payment routes will also be made, and the differential amount in both these transactions will be regarded as profit. Under the present laws, all MTT transactions are required to be in profit. Payment of agency commission also is prohibited unless a specific request has been made and RBI is happy to provide the same. There are also some restrictions with respect to payment outlay, by what period you could first pay the overseas seller and wait till you receive the foreign revenue from the other buyer also. So if you see the draft regulations, they have provided certain relaxations, as I've mentioned, that it's not required for the Indian intermediary to, in all cases, have a profit in the MTT transaction. They have also, there was one specific slide. Yes. With respect to the timeline also, entire transaction was required to be routed through the same AD bank, and the transaction was required to be completed within a period of 9 months. This specific requirement has also been omitted. So with respect to commission also, they have said the prohibition as on the date has been removed from the draft regulation. And for the write-off part, earlier in this present regulations, there are specific provisions for MTT amount to be written off. However, no separate provisions are provided under the draft regulations, and we believe that the 25% which we discussed earlier would be available for these MTT exporters and traders as well.
This is a general, what we covered is a general implication of a current account transaction trade. Routine things happen. RBI feels that we should be able to settle all our matters through AD bank. You can explain anything happening in the trade is a routine issue. No need to come to RBI for that. That is the new thought process when as part of ISO doing business, government is projecting. We will be circulating one small write-up. There's a barcode. You can scan and check, come to our website where detailed analysis of the changes has been captured. Over to my colleagues.
In addition, this MTT, they explain about this. One more thing, important thing which we need to keep in mind is, although these goods are not imported, not brought physically into India or exported from India, still we need to see whether these goods do fall under SCOMET or CITES or not. If prior to 2023 policy, if any import of these goods is restricted or prohibited, or similarly export from India of those goods are prohibited or restricted, then even MTT transaction was not permitted. But now they say that only those goods which do fall under SCOMET or CITES, these are not permitted to be traded through MTT. So that we need to keep in mind while doing this MTT transactions.
Yes.
Mention of surrender of export incentives, the previous slide. So
Yes.
yeah, this one. So would this be covered now or at the time of customs?
You exported $100 and we realized a duty drawback / GST refund on 100. Now we need to give back $20 to our customer. So what should happen to the GST and the export drawback? We'll be covering, specifically covering. We understand that
Yeah.
issue.
Fine, thank you.
Over to Nirav sir and Chaitanya sir.
So regarding this MTT,
Yes.
many bank, when we want to perform this MTT transaction, the AD bank says that we don't have the quota to perform the MTT for this amount. If the transaction is for more than $20,000, many times bank says us that we don't have the quota to perform this transaction.
See, these kind of restrictions are not provided under Fpme or under the MTT guidelines also. There might be a situation of the internal policies of the bank, and depending on your trade history or the bona fide of your banking relationship, which you have been maintaining with them, they might impose these kind of restrictions depending on trade to trade perspective also, involving a specific foreign buyer or a specific foreign seller or a particular jurisdiction as well. Under the law, there is no such restriction.
MTT transaction where no problem, that's happening very smoothly. But after Nirav Modi transaction, after Rotomax case, there are multiple cases which has happened where the government felt the transaction is not genuine. Overvaluation, undervaluation. You are just buying the transaction to do a derivative trade, etc. Hence, they put indirect direction to AD bank, go slow on MTT, unless it is necessary. India is not here to do trading as an export. India has to do make in India and export. Trading as export, they said go slow.
They are comfortable with the relationship that you hold. So there's no quota such thing. Thank you for the very interactive session. Now I move on to the next two speakers. I'll move on to the next two speakers. Thank you for the earlier interactive session. Mr. Nirav Karya, partner, is involved in drafting of opinions, replies to show cause notices, appeals, writ petitions, and representation before CBEC. He also provides advisory services, mainly in the area of GST. He has also conducted TCRs under GST regime for many renowned manufacturing clients. He has represented clients before various judicial authorities for central excise, VAT, CST, and also represents clients for advanced ruling authorities under GST. Mr. Karia specializes in the area of classification of goods under Customs Tariff Act 1975 and applicable rate of tax under GST. He has been part of important subjects for carrying out classification of goods input side as well as output side for many big business houses. And now introduce Mr. Chaitanya R. Bhatna is a lawyer practicing in the firm in the area of indirect tax. He is engaged primarily in the advisory practice in the area of tax, particularly GST. Mr. Bhatt has particular experience in GST laws. He has been advising several companies on a variety of issues having GST implications such as input tax credits, trade promotion schemes, supply chain, etc. He has also undertaken tax compliance reviews for them. The clientele includes a variety of companies across a range of industries for goods and services companies. Prior to enactment of GST, Mr. Bhatt was engaged in advising clients primarily in the area of service tax. Over to you.
First of all, good evening, everyone. Thank you. Once again, for repetition, my name is Neerav. My colleague Chaitanya, we will be taking the GST topic here. And just to continue with the Ashish and Pratyush, last point, in case of MDT, so why this MDT, why there is a changes? Definitely he has explained very well in the Fpme transaction and all, but why there is a requirement to put a clause or a provision, separate provision from 2020 in GST also, which also you should be aware. As rightly said by Nirav Modi transaction, because of the Nirav Modi, the export procedure not came. So in 2020, the GST department also realized that yes, the people are only exporting it, but not realizing the money. They are only taking the benefit of the refund. They are taking the benefit of the customs, whatever the drawback or road tab or MEI scheme, but they are not realizing the money. So therefore, to curb all those type of practices, they also introduce a section. Coming to your point is Rule 96B 2020 from March 2020. Now, what this rule, obviously we will discuss in detail, but just to touch upon it, what this rule says, in case if you are claiming any refund on input side or output side of the exports of goods or services which you have made, in case you are claiming any refund, then you should realize the sales proceeds fully within the time limit which is given by the Fpme, that is 9 months plus extension of the 6 months. Now, what will happen if I do not realize any money? Because the non-realization can be either because of the bad debts, can be because of the write-off, can be because of the true up, true down. I think you all are familiar with this concept. Maybe because of the discount or any other reason. वो reason में कुछ भी आ सकता है. Any other reason that you are not able to realize that money. Now the question comes, whatever amount, like say for example, $100 you have exported, $20 you are not able to receive, whatever the reason for which I have told you, the question arises is, to the extent of the $20, whatever refund I have got, either on the input side or on the output side, again I'm repeating, on the input side or the output side, plus my customs benefit which I got, whether I need to surrender it to the department or not. First question. Law is covering that question, answer to that question. Second, assume that within the restricted time period, I realize that money also, or I satisfy RBI through my AD banker that see because of this reason, I am not able to recover that money, or I gave the discount because of this reason, and it is within the permissible limit only. So you please waive off that amount. You please give me the permission, give us the circular, give the instruction to waive off so that I am not required to recover that amount. Now in that situation, the amount of refund which you have paid to the GST department in the rule is saying that you can get back the amount. Question is how? That the rule is not saying. Whether you will get it by suo moto or whether you have to claim refund for that, that is still silent. We have filed representation for many clients through associations. At least you clarify how we have to do, because sometimes it happens that if I take suo moto refund, they will say, भैया तो provision ही नहीं था, तुमने refund कैसे ले लिया? they said that you have to go by RFD 01 provision, because RFD 01 is a form for filing the refund claim under the GST. So there is no clarity on this. Second, once I surrender the amount, I have to surrender with interest, with penalty. Question is, when I get back the amount or when I satisfy my AD banker or RBI, okay, I was not required to realize this money. Question arises whether I will get the refund of that interest or penalty back or not. That is also still not clear. So many clients ask from 2020 till 2024 that, sir, we have paid this amount. We have also made it as a part of cost. Someone has made it as a part of receivables. Sir, whether we will get the refund of this interest and penalty or not. Sir, today, as many clarifications has come, but still this question is unanswered. So this is an open point, and just to take away sir's point, so whether I require to need, whether I'm required to surrender or not, this is still a big question, that whether I am fitting in that clause or not. Because today, sir, what is happening? Apart from consulting, you know that we are also dealing with litigation. Our major forte is litigation. We are also having a consulting arm that we are doing both litigation and, sir, day in, day out, left, right, and center, we are getting show cause notices for this. All pharma clients, all chemical clients, many trader clients have received this show cause notice saying that, okay, whatever refund which you have got, to the extent of that unrealizable amount, you require to pay back with interest and penalty. And sir, show cause notice is not issued under 73. They are issuing under 74. That is fraud. So whenever I will be discussing any section, I will be clearing that 73 means normal, 74 means fraud. Okay? Yes, sir.
Hello, there is a provision in the GST law, as far as I know, that if RBI writes off an amount, then the GST need not be surrendered.
Yes, that's only I'm saying, sir, within the permissible limits. Huh? So you have to satisfy the RBI that why it is required to write off. Like Pratyush gave the example, 25% you are not required to recover in respect of the new draft rules. So to the extent of $100 you have received the benefit. Na? 25 के हिसाब से आपको payment नहीं लाना, because government is itself giving you the relaxation. So to the extent of 25 not required. But now question arises to the extent of 75, whether RBI permits you or not, that is a big question. Sir, because I'll tell you, the entire motto of the department is not to export the taxes, correct? So they have not exempted the exports. They have simply said that exports are taxable, but you have to pay the GST, I will give you the refund, correct? Now, that is nothing but an incentive which government is giving to you, sir. And if you see the master circular of RBI, which is issued under the Fpme transaction and all in respect of this one only, they have clearly said any benefit which is arising in the taxation also is an incentive. So now the question arises that any amount of refund which you realize because of the non-realization of the fund is also an incentive, and whether you are required to give or not. Sir, answer is yes.
Issue is, let's say we supplied $100, we received the payment, and there is a quality issue or there is a dispute. The customer is saying that the stocks are destroyed in his country, and please refund $100. We submit the application with the bank, and the bank is saying that please go to the customs and get the confirmation from customs that you have surrendered the incentives, or the road tax or the duty drawback. Is it valid?
Yes, sir, it is valid. And question is whether on the GST refund also which we have received on this is required to surrender or not is a big question.
Yes, sir. Sir, because as you correctly pointed out, one issue, because you are saying that the goods are destroyed in the middle, which I was just going to even come. So they are, what is happening? Surrender of to the extent of non-realization. Non-realization in the sense that you first realize, and now they are asking to give back. They are asking you to give it back. Assuming that that is all permissible, you give it back. Department is certainly taking a stand that because you have refunded it back, effectively you have received less amount of proceeds only. Less amount of export proceeds. Therefore, you surrender your refund. And additionally, they are also taking a stand that because those goods are destroyed, whatever input tax credits you have taken, that also you reverse it.
So it's a double whammy, sir.
Yeah. Right.
Not
Right.
only the export incentive, not only the IGST refund, but also the input credit which is contained on those goods which are destroyed outside India. That also department is asking you to get surrender in that. So you need to also know not only 96B, also section 17(5) also of the CTST Act, which gives the restrictive credit list on which the credit is not allowed. In that, one of the point is if the goods are destroyed, ITC on that goods is required to be surrendered. So all are interlinked. Just what we are basically trying to say is all are interlinked. Yes. That's only, sir.
Yeah.
No,
That
so-
double problem is,
Sir.
I export it and there are a lot of problems over there. Because of some reason, he says that your goods are not okay for whatever it is there. So even whatever the input credit I got from my contract manufacturer, I have to reverse that also.
Yes, sir, because once you have received the sales proceed, the question is, as per the Fpme, that Pratyush will say, whether the transaction is annulled or not. If the transaction is annulled, then the ownership on that goods passes on to you or not. If the ownership on that goods passes on to you, sir, then on the goods which is destroyed, whether in India or outside India, credit is required to be reversed. That is the issue, sir.
So even the input credit also has to be.
But Nirav, 96B which you mentioned, this will be linked with the even input tax credit of the, I mean, under rule 89 also if I click. Oh,
So input tax credit भी cover करता है, IGST refund भी cover करता है.
but suppose in this transaction, if I say that whatever the contract which I had entered into the customer, I had exported the goods, I realized the money. Now that transaction is over. So therefore, whatever refund I was to get, I got that and transaction is over. Now, pursuant to my contractual liability, I have to return or I have to replace those goods. Whether that surrendering of the benefit is required in this case.
That's what I'm saying. Na. So the transaction got annulled, na? Because
No, that's what I'm saying. Earlier transaction is valid. Now pursuant to the contract which I had entered, there's a clause in the contract that
force majeure or you
indemnity clause. If I'm remitting,
required to surrender.
correct. So I have to remit maybe equivalent to or 50%, whatever may be that. But do I need to reverse the credit of the IGST? I mean, refund of the IGST also?
Because literally, if the transaction, sorry, then you can, if the sales is annulled, na, Ratan, whether the ownership is in pass on to me or not. Like if the ownership passes on to me, then that goods which is destroyed either in India or outside India, na, the input tax credit contained in that has to be reversed.
So therefore, what you are saying is that whatever amount which I remit back will be linked with the original export which I made to the customer. And therefore, it will be considered to have been annulled. Okay.
so surrender also, and then that reversal is also attractive.
And in these transactions, sir, of course, duty drawback as well as all export incentive, whatever you had claimed, you have to surrender. GST refund.
Yeah.
So,
Therefore, we have filed a representation through many associations, sir, for getting the clarification to say that okay, either you strike down this 96B as it is unconstitutional, or you relax the, basically it's very harsh to surrender the amount. Because as Ratan rightly said, once my amount is been recovered, then subsequent transaction which is happening should not be linked to the first transaction, but they are linking.
Suppose in this transaction, if I had exported $100, I got the refund or drawback or whatever or tap. And pursuant to the contract, or if the ultimate customer is able to earn more margin, and by the token, if I get $20 more from the customer, will I be getting drawback, raw tap, or additional amount? Correct, no, sir. This is the issue being faced. So customer will say, customs will say that you got at the time this was a final assessment, you did not inform this is a provisional, etc. Therefore, I will not give. So wherever you are getting less amount, you have to pay back with interest, but wherever you are getting more amount, you will not get. So that's what the problem.
No.
उसमें तो आपको सेल करके खत्म
Sir, contract manufacturer already supplied to you on payment of GST. इसके हाथ में तो हो गया transaction. वो डिस्ट्रक्शन वगैरह वो बाद में आपके हाथ में हो रहा है. हाँ. Yes. 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 Yes.
Is there a law being planned for it?
Is there a?
Law being planned for it? Is there some relaxation or some law which, right now, as you said, it has to be paid back? Is there an industry
The
representation?
law is that 96B is a law.
No. That is in which you have to pay back.
Huh.
I'm talking of, this is a grievance which the entire industry is facing.
Huh.
So is there any kind of a law that
So
is
that's only we
being
have filed a
discussed
represent.
or representation? being
Yeah,
made?
we have filed a representation through various associations before CBIC.
Yeah.
So you relax these norms.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to ask.
I have a question coming back to the same point wherein RBI has said, no, sorry, there is a law in the GST which says that if RBI writes off, then you need not pay
You need not
GST,
pay anything.
right?
Yes.
So, but power to status holders up to 10% to write off. It has given power to AD Bank for 10% to write off. And if they can't do, then RBI will do, which means the power of RBI up to 10% is with the AD bank or with the status holder. So why you as an attorney are not using this point and don't give tax back to the department and just say that the GST law clearly says that if it's a write-off, then GST need not be given back.
So when Shukos notice is issued, we are saying the same thing.
Then what happens? They don't agree.
We don't agree.
Then you have to go to litigation.
Any DRC 01 which we attended, they are not agreeing to it. So the problem is with the department is this only. They are coming with a very focused mindset. Paisa nikalo. Second, they are only seeing what is written in black and white in 96B only. As you rightly explained, that they should also basically widen their horizon to see that what is written in the RBI circular also. What is the relaxation given in the AD banker or RBI also? They are not able to understand. वो बोलते हैं 96B में क्या लिखा है वो बताओ. 96B में लिखा है sales proceed realized or not. नहीं. फिर surrender करो. जब आपने पैसा लेके आएंगे after 9 months plus 6 months within the extension time वापस लेके जाओ.
But both
That is what they are saying.
right. But both the provisions are in conflict with each other, right? There is a clear guideline which says that if it's a write-off, you need not pay back.
Correct.
So you can take that point and you should win
We are
in court
saying- We
also.
are anyway taking this point only, na, sir, because this is nothing but in the proviso. If you see the rule, na, sir, which is verbatim's rule, it is in the proviso which they have said, if the RBI waives off, then there is no requirement to fulfill the conditions of 96B. However, they have not mentioned which circular, which provision, कौन सी कैसे जाना है, nothing is mentioned. They are going and explaining, sir, this is a circular, this is a law. Yes.
Departmental officers are, they don't even sometimes know the law only.
Sir, you
Like
tell
most of the
me,
time.
I think in last 2 weeks, sir, I have almost seen 15. We have discussed 15 case law of High Court under section 75(4). Now, what is section 75(4) is nothing. Giving an opportunity of personal hearing to the SSC before you pass any ex parte order. Clear? The 15 orders of different high courts are being passed. Which is very settled. Within the law only they have written 75(4). Before you pass any ex parte order, if you issue any show cause notice, you have to give the opportunity of personal hearing. Still, they are passing it. SSC is going to High Court. High Court is questioning, setting aside that order, remanding it back. Again, the de novo proceeding is starting. नुकसान किसका हो रहा है इसमें? क्लियर है ना? वो तो क्लियर है, सेक्शन में लिखा है ना, फिर भी.
Okay, so this is on the 96B. So I think just one more issue we can discuss before we go to the 9610. regarding this foreign bank charges. So let us take an example that I have exported the goods worth $100. So what happens is that the foreign buyer, when he makes the remittance, he will make the remittance through his foreign bank. His foreign bank will make remittance to my Indian bank. My Indian bank will make remittance to me. So what is happening is that when the foreign bank is making the remittance of that $100 to the Indian bank, it is deducting some charges. Say $100 export amount is there, but some $2 is being deducted, and I'm receiving net $98. But what is happening is, I mean, what we have seen is, you can also just confirm that the exporter is recording the income as $100 only in their books of accounts, and they are showing it as an expenditure is being shown as a $2. So today, actually,
You all are doing this, na?
we are doing now. Okay.
Are you paying GST on RCM?
On that $2.
On that $2, how many are paying? Or are you aware that GST is required to be paid on this?
We are showing it as a bank charges.
Correct, sir.
Ah,
You
bank
are
charges,
showing it
yeah.
as a bank charge. There is no doubt about it. But are you
Sir.
paying GST on reverse charge mechanism on
Sir.
that?
Whatever
You are
the
paying.
amount comes, that will go as a invoice value, whatever. And then ultimately we adjust loss in profit or whatever it is.
ठीक है, correct.
That is okay.
But are you paying GST on RCM on that? Left, right, and center show cause notices are issued on this, sir.
Yes, sir. We have, sir, we have.
But that is paid in profit. What we do is invoice value, put it on the shipping bill value, whatever it is that is our invoice value. So sometimes we get more money or sometimes we get less money. What we, at the end of this stage, we put the debit credit showing as gain or loss of this stage.
So more though we have not seen, but in many cases we have seen less only it is coming and they are recognizing it as a bank charges only. And
Exchange rate fluctuation, sometimes we get.
तो वो अलग है, तीन चार चीजें होती है वो अलग है, डिस्क्रिपेंसी एक्सचेंज रेट वो नहीं, बैंक चार्जेस के अगेंस्ट में आपको जो कम मिला ना, to the extent of bank charges, department is now issuing a notices saying that on that foreign bank charges you are required to pay GST under RCM basis.
So there is a clarification recently which says that the RCM needs to be paid by the bank if any exporter should not be troubled.
So there are decisions.
We had received, we had.
There is no clarification. There is a decision, and decision is in the service tax regime, not in the GST regime.
The service tax, there are contrary and favorable decisions.
Hmm.
Like Madras High Court, etc., have decided in against, and recently Ahmedabad State in 2023 has decided in favor. BGR Energy is against, and recently in that Dishman Pharmaceutical, to 2023 case, they have decided in favor. But all this is in service tax regime, and today department is saying कि service tax law एकदम अलग था, they are हम वो consider करेंगे ही नहीं, ऐसे करके बोल रहे हैं.
Sir, इसमें क्या issue आ रहा है? What is the issue? I will just tell you why this. You understood the issue ना? कि $100 में मैंने export किया, मुझे $98 मिलता है, $2 मेरा कट के आता है, $2 को I recognize it as a foreign bank charges in my books of account. Correct? Clear ना यहाँ पे? Department is coming and saying that ये $2 के ऊपर आप exporter RCM में GST भरो as a IGST. Why? Because already the issue is been fought between the bank and the department. Banks बोल रहे हैं कि मैं नहीं भरूंगा GST क्योंकि मैं recipient नहीं हूँ, क्योंकि उनको पता है कि if they pay GST ना, they will only get 50% of the credit. Banks are basically into two things, na? Deposit which is exempted plus into various other services which is taxable. So by law in GST उनको 50% credit ही allow कर दिया. गवर्नमेंट ने बोला कि जितना भी क्रेडिट आपकी किटी में आएगा ना, आपको सिर्फ 50% ही क्रेडिट मिलेगा, एलिजिबल नॉट एलिजिबल जो भी है. तो इसीलिए उन्होंने क्या बोला कि भाई ये हमारे ऊपर मत दो, ये एक्सपोर्टर को दे दो ना. एक्सपोर्टर क्रेडिट भरेगा, एक्सपोर्टर जीएसटी भरेगा, क्रेडिट ले लेगा और उसका रिफंड भी ले लेगा. उसको क्या नुकसान है? मेरे को तो 50% का नुकसान है ना. दिस इज द इशू व्हिच इज गोइंग ऑन इन स्टेट बैंक ऑफ जयपुर वर्सेस द सीबीआईसी. So they have passed the order in the Jaipur High Court which is against. So therefore, now what is happening is department are running after the GST, running after the exporters, saying that, hey, Mr. Exporter, you are the recipient of this supply, not the bank. Therefore, you are required to pay GST under reverse charges.
And additionally, assessees are actually arguing कि भाई we don't even know who is the foreign bank. आप हम पे क्यों liability डाल रहे हो? We don't even know the name of the foreign bank. But department ये बोल रहा है कि you have recorded this as an expenditure in your books of account, so we are going to come to you only. We
No.
So that is more of an accounting, but that may not.
certify this, na? Because in the payment advice which you will get, sir, I think $2 तो I think लिखा होता ही है ना बैंक charges करके. Sir, आप accounting में कुछ भी दिखाओ, but in GST definitely they will say that to the extent of difference it is a service.
No, but what happens is foreign bank, when we get the remittance $5,000, they put you are getting only 4960 or something like that.
Yes, sir.
So that
Sir,
$40, we don't get it. Even the bank also doesn't receive.
Sir, that's only they are saying. Okay, you are getting $5,000 only. That is the reason why in the ledger of the debtor, you are basically hitting with $5,000 only. So that knocking off with 5,000, $40 उसके पास आप receivable नहीं दिखाते हो. आप अपने books of account में $40 का hit लेते हो as a expense, bank charges. And that is the reason why they are saying इसके ऊपर RCM करो.
तो इंडियन रुपीज से ही हम लोग कन्वर्ट करते हैं ना.
तो भी है, वो भी है Indian.
सर एक प्रैक्टिकल एग्जांपल देता हूँ. हम लोग को नोटिस आया था. हम लोग को नोटिस आया था कि आप आरसीएम आपने पे नहीं किया तो पेनल्टी के साथ रिटर्न करो. मैंने उनको रिप्लाई किया कि सर ये हमने राइट ऑफ कर दिया. और सेक्शन का नाम भी बताया. एज पर जीएसटी लॉ RBI has given power to status holders to write off up to 10%. It's a very small amount. So as per law, I'm not supposed to give back GST to you. And he accepted it.
Good, very good.
That is a
That is
commercial.
I don't know what is the logic in which they have done.
Customer is paying the full amount, $5,000. The intermediate banks are.
Well, what you said, na sir, the waiver is obtained from the output side. So you may get the benefit under 96B, but you may not get the benefit under reverse charge because it is an import of service. How he has exempted you, that I don't know, but that is what I am trying to say. There are two different type of transaction. What you said, it is from a 96B point of view, you are right that you are not required to reverse any credit. But from the input side, inward side, RCM which you have to pay, sir, this argument will not suffer.
See, the RCM becomes payable only if you classify it as a bank charge. I told him it's not a bank charge. It's a short payment and I'm writing it off.
That's what I'm saying, sir.
So the input side doesn't come into picture. It's a short payment received, and as per GST norms, RBI has given me power to write off up to 10%. It's a very small amount.
Then you done wrong end.
So, madam, you are saying that in the Swift advice, they are mentioning two things. One is the bank charge and second is the bad debts amount.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, मतलब वही मैं so
ठीक है sir. I think we can just move to the next slide. The 9610, I think that is the main rule basically which you all are aware. What is 9610? I will just give a brief of this 9610. In the 54 GST Council, they are anyway saying कि 9610, 894A and 894B इसको omit कर देंगे. Now what is this? मैं explain करूँगा. ऐसा नहीं है कि we are just only saying rules and this. The 9610 basically says that if you are an exporter getting any inputs on which you are availing any benefit of exemption from customs duty, that is IGST. Either you may be an advance license holder, you may be a EOU, you may be invalidating your advance license against someone and getting the goods from Indian party, correct? Or you may be a merchant exporter. ये चार लोगों को 9610 में बताया हुआ है. And if any person is getting, so merchant exporter means getting under 0.1%, correct? They are saying that all these four type of person, EOU, advanced license holder invalidating against someone, and a merchant exporter, correct? If they are getting their inputs on which they are availing any benefit of exemption on the input side, on the raw materials from IGST, then they are restricted, they are barred to export their finished goods on payment of IGST under refund claim. Clear? Today, many show cause notices are issued to the exporters saying that post 2018. Why 2018? I will explain because of the Cosmo decision and also because of the notification. But just for a sake of simplicity, is post 2018, any export which is made on payment of IGST under a refund claim, आपने refund लिया है और आपके inputs पे आपने exemption लिया है, then you need to surrender the refund. Correct? Similarly, any exporter who has exported the goods under LUT also, but on the input side, he has taken the benefit of the exemptions on IGST, and if he has claimed the refund on input side under rule 89(4), जो blanket rule है, simple net ITC multiply by export turnover upon total turnover, और उसने पूरा क्रेडिट का रिफंड ले लिया है, उन सब के ऊपर भी नोटिसेस इश्यू हो रही है बिकॉज ऑफ द फिलाटेक्स गुजरात हाईकोर्ट डिसीजन सेइंग दैट कि आपको जितना रिफंड मिला है वो गलत है, आपको रूल 89(4)B के अंदर क्लेम करना चाहिए था. मतलब अगर मैंने ये बॉटल एक्सपोर्ट किया है अंडर LUT और इसके इनपुट्स पे जैसे ढक्कन, ये स्लीव, ये मैंने पूरा का पूरा इंपोर्ट किया है अंडर एडवांस लाइसेंस without payment of BCD and IGST, correct? Then definitely on this cap and on this sleeve, I have not suffered any duty, correct? So what is my duty amount is only to the extent of this granules which may have gone to manufacture this bottle and some services which is very minuscule. उतना ही आपको रिफंड मिलेगा. That is what the rule is saying. 89(4). Clear ना? What people has done is what उन्होंने ये बॉटल एक्सपोर्ट किया अंडर 89, एक्सपोर्ट किया अंडर LUT में, स्लीव्स और ये ढक्कन इंपोर्ट किया था विदाउट पेमेंट ऑफ IGST ओनली. They claim the refund under 89(4) and they draw entire input tax credit pertaining to the domestic supply also, pertaining to some other supplies also, pertaining to some other products also. Assume if I am also having a pen business also, उसका भी रॉ मटेरियल आता है, मैंने ये भी खींच लिया इसके अंदर. And that is what the department is now issuing notices to everyone saying that okay, if you have exported this bottle under 89 under LUT, but your inputs are exempted from payment of customs duty, you are not required to claim the refund under 89(4). You have to claim under 89(4)B only. This is what the big issue which is going on as on date. Many summons. So here some client in they have started issuing the show cause notice. We can't name the person, but in Mumbai, Maharashtra, Gujarat, they have started issuing the summons on everyone, and they started calling with the documents. क्या आप हमें documents दे दो, export documents, advance license documents and all. ठीक है? So this is, sir, I will take your question. So this is a major issue which you should be aware. We will be taking this definitely as a Q&A, but because of the paucity of time and Ratan is also to cover customs, I am just moving ahead if you permit, sir. Sir, one more issue in this is many cases in these situations. 9610 you are clear, correct? 89(4) also you are clear. Now what will happen if this situation comes to you? आप बोलोगे ठीक है, मैं काम करता हूँ, मैंने जितना भी इनपुट पे रॉ मटेरियल लाया था ना, मैं उसका बिल ऑफ एंट्री सरेंडर कर देता हूँ, बिल ऑफ एंट्री रीअसेस करवा देता हूँ, IGST भर देता हूँ इंटरेस्ट के साथ में, मगजमारी खत्म, और उसका ITC ले लेता हूँ. So therefore you will be out of the 9610, and that is what the recent circular is also issued. सर्कुलर ने भी यही बोल दिया कि अगर आप अपना इनपुट साइड पे जो भी रॉ मटेरियल आया था उसको आप रीअसेस करवा देते हो, IGST विद इंटरेस्ट हम आपको छोड़ देते हैं, not violating the provisions of 9610, correct? Assume if department is not reassessing the bill of entry and you have to pay by TR6 चालान. सुना होगा ना सबने TR6 चालान, कस्टम्स में TR6 चालान होता है, GST में DRC 03 चालान होता है for making any additional payment, differential liability. Assume you have done this. Question is whether you will get the credit or not on the basis of TR6 चालान. Sir, Yes.
With this advance authorization, I import some material. I give it to the contract manufacturer. Not my billing him, I'm not charging him GST or IGST. But when finished goods what he gives me, that time he charges me 12% or whatever. So that 12% can I claim back?
Yeah, you can claim that. There is no problem.
Even if it is advance authorization. It's all the raw material input, I have not paid anything.
Yes, sir.
So that is permissible.
No, what you have done is that when you imported the inputs, did you pay IGST on that?
No.
Then you cannot export on payment of IGST. You have to,
He's saying when a contractor is supplying the goods to him in local, he is charging GST on his services. Whether that credit he is able to claim.
but under rule 89, he can claim, no?
That's what he asking.
So that he can claim.
That's what he asking.
So you have to export under LUT and then you can claim that refund. Pay on export. That's what the rule is barred. That's what
IGST clear नहीं कर सकते, that is what Atal is saying.
नीरव ने बताया ना 9610 में if you have imported the inputs without payment of IGST against advance authorization, then you have to necessarily export under LUT. You cannot export on payment of IGST claim refund. So that is a service which is providing.
You will not charge for goods.
9610 is qua goods, the inputs which you have imported.
No, but he cannot charge you. Sir, he is selling you or he is giving a service to you. That depends on the contract.
But sir, when you have imported, you have provided. Correct.
Then he is giving me the finished formulation.
Correct. So for value addition, actually.
So we need to see the contract and his invoice. You can show me his invoice. I will tell you whether he's correctly charging or not.
One small,
Yeah, please, please,
just
please.
one small question, last question for this 9610 regarding from merchant export. So supposing if the merchant exporter has brokered under 0.1% the this, and he's exporting on payment of IGST, department came to wrongly, and department came to him and is saying that you surrender this IGST refund whatever you have said. Supposing if merchant exporter is
You understood Chaitanya question, huh? He's saying कि merchant exporter ने 0.1 में लिया, but as per the rule 9610, he is not required to export on payment of IGST, correct? गलती से उसने कर दिया।
IGST पे एक्सपोर्ट कर दिया है
अब
और डिपार्टमेंट ने बोला कि नाउ यू हैव टू सरेंडर दिस IGST benefit. Now one question which arises is that if the merchant exporter goes back to his original manufacturer and says that भाई आपने मुझे 0.1% में सप्लाई किया था, अभी आप एक काम करो, आप मेरे को डेबिट नोट रेज करो और जो भी डिफरेंशियल ड्यूटी है, मतलब सपोजिंग इफ द गुड्स आर 18% अट्रैक्टिंग, तो आप मेरे को 17.99% वगैरह है, उसके लिए आप मेरे को डेबिट नोट रेज कर दो and I will pay you the differential GST. तो उसके हिसाब से what I will do, he is raising the debit note, I will take the credit of that. So then can we take an argument that now the entire transaction is regularized? मतलब कि एक बार उसने 17.99 का डेबिट नोट रेस कर दिया तो टोटली ही हैज पेड 18%, तो उसका वो 0.1% निकल गया है और मेरे को जो IGST का रिफंड मिला है वो मेरे को मिल गया है और जो डेबिट नोट है उसका क्रेडिट में ले लूंगा.
So you understood what Chaitanya said, na? Question here is whether regularization done on behest of manufacturer who is supplying to merchant exporter. मैन्युफैक्चरर ने अगर 17.5% या 17.9% का डेबिट नोट दे दिया, क्या उसके कारण मर्चेंट एक्सपोर्टर ने जो गुनाह किया था वो सही हो जाएगा कि नहीं? दैट इज व्हाट द क्वेश्चन. Perfect. Yes. But what rule 9610 is saying, who is in violation? Exporter. No, exporter is in violation, not the manufacturer.
What Nirav is saying that in violation, but can the original manufacturer do such a kind of an activity so as to nullify the sins of the exporter?
For issuing debit note, there is no time frame.
But Nirav, issuing debit note, I don't think so would suffice. Here, what was required is that payment of 18% to government. So if manufacturer pays the differential IGST along with interest, then this transaction can be regularized. Not raising of the debit note would suffice, isn't it?
Exactly. Right. So debit note तो invoice
There
बनता
is
है
no
ना?
restriction. Even in debit note there is a yes, you can do that.
वो SAP में problem आता है, what you rightly said ना, that is what we are facing with some client, कि SAP में क्या हो रहा है कि ₹100 का डेबिट नोट था पॉइंट 1 में, वापस ₹100 का इनवॉइस है, तो SAP में वो 200 दिखता है. अब वो इशू आ रहा है सर, प्रॉब्लम है. If you have the answer, you tell us also, because वो technical answer
Because we understand
No,
as far
even
as
otherwise-
e-invoicing is concerned, e-invoicing provisions are allowing.
Even otherwise, what I understand is this is the contractual arrangement between merchant exporter and manufacturer. What is relevant is how much tax was paid to the government. It was 0.1% at that time. Now, if we pay the differential along with interest, then transaction is regularized.
Correct.
That's all.
So I think this is the best which you have done in saving the time also, and they are also having the leisure of eating and learning. Correct. Next. And this is safe.
Now in 9610, one important thing is that about capital goods, suppose if IGST exemption you have claimed on capital goods against EPCG, then you will not be subjected to 9610. That they have kept outside. So only raw materials if you have imported against advance authorization without payment of IGST, then only this bar would be applicable. Now EOU may face the problem because there is one notification for EOU. If you have been operating under EOU, 52 of 2003 notification is there which grants exemption from payment of BCD and IGST both. So if you have claimed the exemption from payment of IGST on inputs but not on capital goods, then also this bar would be applicable for EOU. If you have paid IGST or if you have claimed the exemption from payment of IGST on capital goods under EOU, then also you may be hit by this by this rule 9610.
The EOUs are into a big problem now. क्योंकि EOU ने जब गुड्स इंपोर्ट किया तो उनके केस में एक बहुत यूनिक बेनिफिट है कि EOU को इनपुट और कैपिटल गुड्स दोनों के ऊपर एग्जेम्पशन देता है. और आज तक EOU क्या करते थे कि EOU ने इनपुट्स भी लेके आया, कैपिटल गुड्स भी लेके आया, फिनिश गुड्स बनाया और एक्सपोर्ट कर दिया ऑन पेमेंट ऑफ ITS. जबकि इनपुट साइड में फिनिश गुड सॉरी रॉ मटेरियल और कैपिटल गुड दोनों के ऊपर एग्जेम्पशन लिया था. करेक्ट. जब उन्होंने रिवर्स किया, सरेंडर किया उन्होंने, तो उन्होंने सिर्फ रॉ मटेरियल का ही किया. उनको लगा कि ये कैपिटल गुड्स पे कौन करेगा, एंड दे जेन्युइनली लेफ्ट इट आउट. Many EOU genuinely left it out thinking that यार कैपिटल गुड्स पे भी तो रिवर्स करना था. And now they are in soup because what is happening कि now that bill of entry against which that capital goods has come, that may be a partial, some capital goods are there, some capital goods are for other businesses, and partial reassessment of bill of entry is not happening. तो अभी वो क्या हो रहा है कि उनको पूरा बिल ऑफ एंट्री रीअसेस करने के चक्कर में इंटरेस्ट पूरे अमाउंट पे भरना पड़ रहा है. और पहली बात तो वो कर भी नहीं रहे. फॉर योर काइंड इन्फॉर्मेशन, 9610 केसेस के लिए वो लोग रीअसेसमेंट नहीं कर रहे. दे आर ओनली डूइंग द रीअसेसमेंट फॉर प्री इंपोर्ट केसेस.
Just one issue in brief. I'll just tell this. We have seen one issue, so just wanted to tell. See, in terms of this 96A rule, we are required to export the goods within 3 months of the date of invoice. So one issue which we had seen is that exporter had got the export order from the customer. He issued invoice also. He sent the goods to the port also. But वो क्या हुआ कि last minute पे that foreign customer ने बोला कि एक मिनट होल्ड पे रखो, जरा होल्ड पे रखो, मैं आपको बताता हूँ. तो उसने बोला कि ठीक है, मैंने गुड्स पोर्ट पे रखता हूँ. He kept on extending his period also. 3 महीना भी बीत गया, एक्सटेंड करता गया, कमिश्नर को अप्लाई करेगा कि एक्सटेंड करो. उसके बाद आफ्टर 8-9 months दैट कस्टमर सेड अब मेरे को नहीं चाहिए, आप ऑर्डर कैंसिल करो. दैट फेलो हैज ऑलरेडी इशूड द एक्सपोर्ट इनवॉइस और वो क्रेडिट, सो ही हैज टू अदरवाइज इशू अ जीएसटी क्रेडिट नोट फॉर दिस. लेकिन अभी क्या हुआ कि 8-9-10 महीना हो गया, तो अभी वो क्रेडिट नोट इशू करने का भी टाइम लिमिट खत्म हो गया. But now what is happening is in
GST credit note.
Yeah, GST credit note. So in the GSTR1, he has already reported as an export transaction, but now the order is cancelled and the goods are moving back to the original manufacturer. But department is coming and saying that you have shown it as an export transaction, you have not physically exported the goods. So now in this case, they are asking us to pay the GST.
Correct.
So in spite of me taking extension of the time period also, but because of this thing, credit note cut asking us to pay GST. So in this, maybe one argument can be taken that ultimately supply has not taken place only, इसलिए I need not pay GST. But again, it's an issue of litigation.
So there was a very relaxation in excise law एक्साइज लॉ में वो लोगों ने रिलैक्सेशन दे दिया था, रूल 18, रूल 19 डिबेट, आई थिंक एवरीवन मस्ट बी अवेयर. बट इन जीएसटी में ये रिलैक्सेशन नहीं है. रूल 96A इज सेइंग दैट कि वंस द इनवॉइस इज इशूड और आपका पैसा अगर उसमें नहीं आया, गुड्स अगर आपका बाहर चला गया, तो आपको उसके ऊपर जीएसटी पहले भरना पड़ेगा. क्वेश्चन इज, मैंने जीएसटी चलो भर दिया, नो प्रॉब्लम, मैंने भर दिया, उसका क्या? फिर वो
रिफंड मिलेगा कि नहीं
मुझे?
मिलेगा?
क्या मैं उसका सुओ मोटो क्रेडिट ले सकता हूँ कि नहीं बाद में, क्योंकि गुड्स तो वापस आ गया ना. गुड्स जब मुझे वापस आ गया तो मुझे वापस रिक्रेडिट भी मिलना चाहिए. तो लॉ इज साइलेंट ऑन दिस. देयर इज नो instruction, no provision, no explanation, nothing on this. So whenever you're undertaking any kind of this transaction now, make sure either you do this within the credit note time limit. क्रेडिट नोट का टाइम लिमिट आपका चले नहीं जाना चाहिए, भले एक बार धंधा चले जाए, वरना वो एक्सपेंसिव हो जाएगा. Sir, next September, November of the next financial year. Now it is November. Earlier it was September. So like today financial year 24 hai. So November 24 is the last for 23-24 for GST credit note. So I think with this we are completing the GST. Yes, sir, please. For
I'll be covering that.
we all are interlinked. So that all your questions are. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirvay. This is even more interactive, so I think the tempo is going up, and now customs, very, very interesting and very beloved topic of most of our members, where actually we have daily work compared with GST or RBI. So I here take this opportunity to introduce Mr. Ratan Jain. He's executive partner in the indirect taxes practice team at Lakshmi Kumaran and Sridharan. Ratan's practice includes a mixture of litigation in the areas of customs, excise, and foreign trade policy before tribunals and quasi-judicial authorities, and advisory in the areas of customs and FTP. Ratan has been advising several companies on a variety of issues having valuation, FTP implications under various export promotion schemes such as advance authorizations, EPCG, duty drawback, MEIS, SEIS, RODTEP, EOU, SEZ, etc. He has been serving leading corporate houses across a range of industries, including several technology and service companies. I think we all look forward to his talk as well. And at the end of the session, maybe we can have Q&A for customers as well. Thank you.
Thank you for the good evening to all. Now, considering the paucity of time, I will not be taking much time. Foreign trade policy, there are many schemes, and you all are familiar about all these schemes: advance authorization, EPCG, duty drawback, EOU, SEZ. I'll not be touching upon those schemes. But what are the problems being faced by the industry with respect to each of the schemes? And especially from merchant exporter perspective, I'll be touching upon that. One, I'll start from what Sir mentioned about duty drawback. When we export the goods, we are supposed to realize within 9 months, or maybe extended by RBI or any banker. Within that period, we have to realize. Duty drawback is not linked with the realization at the time of export. When you export the goods, the custom department gives you the drawback immediately. They will not see whether you have realized or not. But I undertook to realize within 9 months. So therefore, I'm supposed to realize. If you don't realize, maybe in 1 year, 2 years time, what will happen? Department will give the show cause notice. They will recover this amount. Now you may ask, sir, how far they can ask? Can they ask beyond 5 years? Can they ask beyond 10 years? Or is there any time limit for them to recover this? This is more importantly why, because since 1995 onwards, we have been experiencing the show cause notice being issued by the department. Unfortunately, Rule 17 or 18 of the drawback rules do not provide any time limit for them to recover the drawback. So section 28 is a charging section under Customs Act, but there is no provision, there is no time limit for recovery of the drawback in case of non-realization of the export proceed by the exporter. So drawback can be recovered even for the exports made prior to 5 years as well. This is the law, but there are
decisions, especially Gujarat High Court decisions are there. Those decisions do provide that if there is no time limit in the statute, then you can't blankly apply the time limit. You can't ask for the 5 years or 10 years. So therefore, reasonable time limit should be made applicable. And that was considered 3 to 5 years, depending upon the case, 3 to 5 years within which they have to realize. But still, we have been experiencing show cause notices issued in 2018 for the exports made in 2000 or 2002, etc. So therefore, litigation, although Gujarat High Court decisions are there, still litigations are there on this. And because of the non providing the time limit in the statute. Now, what will happen in respect of advance authorization? Suppose if you have exported the goods against advance authorization or EPCG, and you have executed the bond with the customs, and you could not realize, or you realize the export proceeds. What generally we do in case of advance authorization? We obtain the authorization from DGFT or RA, we register at the port and import the inputs or capital goods against EPCG. We fulfill the export obligation, and then what do? We go to customs, we go to DGFT, get the EODC and get our bond discharged. But what used to be the practice earlier, the industry was not getting the bond discharged. And now, in fact, many industries, many clients, they are facing the problem that authorizations issued in 1992, 1993, they are issuing the show cause notice and crores of rupees demands they've been raising. Mainly on the ground because you could not discharge the bond which was executed at that time. So first and foremost thing is that whenever you have been operating under these schemes, please follow the complete procedure by discharging the bond as well after completing the export obligation. So this is very, very important. Now there are two things in foreign trade policy. You would see this merchant exporter as well as third party exporter. Generally, we do what? That you being merchant exporter, you will procure these finished goods from manufacturer and then you will file shipping bill, export the goods. You will realize the export proceeds and claim the benefit. But what is the practice? Suppose if you being a merchant exporter, can you operate under advance authorization scheme? Are you a merchant exporter been operating under advance authorization or DPCC scheme? You are not.
Advance authorization we do for our raw material.
But you being a manufacturer exporter or merchant exporter? Correct. So being a merchant exporter, he can obtain the advance authorization. That advance authorization he has to endorse in favor of the supporting manufacturer. And basis that he can get the goods manufactured and then export. You have been operating as a merchant exporter differently where you don't have any manufacturing facility. You will simply purchase the finished goods and then export. At times you may claim drawback if the manufacturer is not claiming, but you may be filing shipping bill where you may be indicating the EPCG or advance authorization belonging to manufacturer. That may be the situation. So what will happen if you have been operating, if you have been mentioning the advance authorization number or EPCG authorization number in the shipping bill, then you will not get drawback. If the EPCG authorization number, if you mention, perhaps you may get, but advance authorization number, if you mention of the manufacturer, then you will not get drawback. So that is the position. Because advance authorization as well as drawback, either of the benefits would be available to the merchant exporter. With respect to road tax and duty drawback, the price at which the merchant exporter realizes would be considered. So you are familiar with that. There are two things. One, suppose manufacturer manufactures the goods, he supplied to you at let's say 100 rupees and you have exported at 130 rupees. What will be the price considered for fulfillment of export obligation in the hands of manufacturer? Which price will be considered? 100, correct. The price at which he is supplying to you. But for the purpose of drawback and road tax, 130. So that price will be considered. Suppose if you have undertaken export on behalf of and you forgot to mention his license number, whether those exports, because at times we have been experiencing the license number is not indicated and you are under the impression the license number should be mentioned, therefore you will not claim the drawback, but license number also not mentioned, so those will be considered as free shipping bill. So whether free shipping bill filed by you can be converted into drawback shipping bill or advance authorization shipping bill or not, these are the issues being faced by the industry. So law now provide that there is a circular also that free shipping bill to DEC shipping bill or drawback shipping bill is not possible because time limit etc. is there. Although there are decisions that Section 149 provides for amendment of the document, amendment of the bill of entry or shipping bill. And there is no time limit for amendment of the shipping bill. There is no time limit. Time limit was introduced in 2022 only from one scheme to another scheme. But otherwise from free to drawback or free to DEC shipping bill, there is no time limit. Section 149, there is no time limit will take to amend the shipping bill from one scheme to another scheme. So department, it's discretionary upon the department that how all the shipping bill or the bill of entry you are intending to convert into the other scheme. If suppose if they recently filed shipping bill, if you want to convert, perhaps they may not take much time, maybe weeks time or maybe 15 days time. But if old shipping bill, if you are wanting to convert the shipping bill filed in 2020 or 15, then department may take time. But again, department may reject also because there is circular 4 of 2010 and which prescribes a 3 months time limit. So they have been rejecting all these applications merely on the ground that 3 months, within 3 months you will not file, therefore we will reject. There are Delhi High Court and Bombay High Court decisions striking down the circular, saying that when statute does not provide any time limit, then circular can't put any time limit. So therefore amendment under 149 is possible. One, since you are into pharma, this which I mentioned also, this problem being faced about the issuance of debit note and credit note. If the manufacturer or merchant exporter, if you have been issuing the debit note or credit note to the customer outside India, then in that case you may get extra consideration from the customer. Now question is, wherever there is a less realization, you have to pay back all these incentives with interest. But wherever there is extra consideration, you do not get that. So we have suggested the industry to make representation that in the policy or in the drawback scheme, there should be amendment made, and these debit note and credit note also should be considered for the purpose of benefit. There was a provision called supplementary claim in the MEIS regime. But unfortunately, in roadtap scheme or in drawback scheme, there is no. In drawback scheme, there is a supplementary, but again, they will go by the amount indicated in the shipping bill. Now the ADI system is very clear that whatever you want to claim, you claim at the time of export. If subsequent amendment, if you want to see in the shipping bill or in the bill of entry, there should be sufficient evidence at the time of export that you will get this money. Now, suppose if I exported 100 rupees today, I know that consideration, maybe pursuant to my agreement. Because if my agreement says that that customer will be selling in that country at 200, and out of 200, 10% the profit he will be remitting me, then I know today. So this information, unless I indicate to the department today, they will not give me this benefit. Because this was the information basis which they will assess the shipping bill. Perhaps they may assess the shipping bill provisional. And once the shipping bill is provisional, then you may not get the benefit at the time of export. This was the suggestion or this was a concern raised by the industry, especially pharma industry, because we do not want to claim any benefit or we do not want to forego our benefit at the time of export. So provisional shipping bill, no benefit at the time of export. But Ashish also was mentioning about this foreign exchange, foreign currency payment and freely convertible currency, because foreign trade policy schemes, advance authorization, EPCG, EOU, all these schemes would require you to realize the payment in freely convertible currency. If you do not realize the payment in freely convertible currency, you will not get the respective benefit of the schemes. And for the purpose of drawback, duty drawback also, you have to realize the payment in freely convertible currency. Now, one thing which the government, the policy was amended to provide that special rupee wash to account, which also they made now amendment that if you realize the payment through special rupee wash to account, then also payment will be considered towards the respective schemes. EPCG scheme also allows the merchant exporter that if you don't have that manufacturing facility, then you can obtain the EPCG authorization. You can get the endorsement of the supporting manufacturer, and this capital goods would be installed in the premises of supporting manufacturer. You get the goods manufactured from him, and then you export. Then you need not pay the custom duty on the capital goods. So this is possible for the merchant exporter. our understanding today is, that's what I could sense, that merchant exporter, being a merchant exporter, we are restricted that we cannot have the manufacturing facility because we we cannot have the EPCG or advanced authorization because we don't have the manufacturing facility. That is not correct. The today you are doing that, you are just procuring the finished goods and then exporting. You can also obtain the advanced authorization, you can also have the EPCG, you can import the goods, avail the exemption and get the goods manufactured from someone. What you need to do is that whenever you are importing, you have to ensure that the person from whom I am getting this manufacture, his name is mentioned in the authorization which you are procuring or obtaining from DGFT, and then you have to fulfill those conditions, like actual user condition, that you are not selling these capital goods, you are not transferring these raw materials and all. Once you manufacture, then you can export in your name and you can realize the export profit. So benefit will be available. So simply you need not depend upon the manufacturer for purchasing the finished good, because you may not be having that much margin if you purchase the finished good, but you may be more capacity to negotiate if you pay the service charges only to the manufacturer. So in that case, you need not pay the full consideration. You need to pay only the service portion, subject to if you are prepared to bear the risk of complying with this scheme, respective scheme. And then whatever benefit you are claiming, you will continue to claim the benefit.
Mover scheme applicable? Is the mover scheme applicable for merchant exporter?
So mover scheme, good question. Mover scheme basically permits you to import the raw materials, capital goods without payment of custom duty. There is a premise called manufacturing and other operations. It's a bonded premises. It's the commissioner will permit you to operate under that premise, and whatever goods you bring in that, those will be duty free till the time those goods remain in that particular premise. The moment you clear these goods from the mover, then you have to pay the custom duty. But again, that facility would be better and effective for the manufacturer if you want to manufacture that. But if simply you want a merchant export only just trading of the goods, then that scheme may not be viable. But again, I said that just because you are merchant exporter, it is not that you cannot operate under these schemes. Advanced authorization, EPCG, these are valid for you. These are perfectly fine for you.
Sir, apart from this, Ratan is mentioning about the customs. What we have seen in many cases that if a merchant exporter is there, he is operating from mostly 2-3 premises. But under entities, and he's using the same premises only. I'm just only diverting from custom to a GST topic, not related. But since it is a merchant exporter and we just came to know it to make you aware. Now what department is doing is that basically they are going to that type of merchant exporter who are operating in a premises where he is having 3-4 registrations. Like say for example, I am a merchant exporter. मेरे नाम पे भी कंपनी है, मेरे भाई के नाम पे भी कंपनी है, मेरी वाइफ के नाम पे भी कंपनी है, पापा के नाम पे भी कंपनी है, चारों के नाम की मैंने कंपनी बना दी और सबका बिजनेस का जो रजिस्ट्रेशन है वो मैंने एक ही जगह पे लेके रखा हुआ है, same address, and I am operating from that place. Now what department is doing into that type of merchant exporter is, first of all they are saying कि आप एक जो, because see that premises either it may be obtained on rent or it may be owned by only one person only. तो बाकी की जो 3 premises है, बाकी की जो 3 entities है, उन लोगों ने उनसे भाड़े पे लिया होगा किसी ना किसी से, तो whether the cross charges is done or not by the main person to the other entity. Sorry, this is a detour, but I just wanted to cover this also. So this is what the issue which is coming out now. Hope I am clear. So cross charge by main person. Say for example, मैंने अगर पूरा बिल्डिंग ओन किया हुआ है और मेरी दो अलग एंटिटी है, और वो भी मेरे प्लेस में ही बिजनेस रजिस्टर्ड करने का मैंने उनको परमिशन दिया है, करेक्ट. नाउ व्हाट डिपार्टमेंट इज सेइंग इज, क्या आपने, दैट इज नीरव कारिया ने, बाकी की जो 2 एंटिटी है उनको अलाउ किया है यहाँ पे बिजनेस करने के लिए, क्या उसका क्रॉस चार्ज किया है कि नहीं? क्योंकि हम दोनों रिलेटेड पार्टी है ना जीएसटी में. एंड एनी ट्रांजेक्शन हैपनिंग बिटवीन रिलेटेड पार्टी इवन विदाउट कंसिडरेशन is a supply. Any transaction happening between related persons, even without consideration, is also supply. इवन नो ट्रांजेक्शन ऑल्सो सर, अगर आपने अपने बिजनेस में, अपने अगर फ्लैट में आपकी दूसरी कोई एंटिटी है, समझो आपकी वाइफ के नाम की एंटिटी, उसमें आपने उनको रहने दिया हुआ है, एडिशनल प्लेस ऑफ बिजनेस या मेन प्रिंसिपल प्लेस ऑफ बिजनेस लेने के लिए परमिशन दिया है, देयर इज अ सप्लाई बाय यू टू हर एंटिटी. Sorry, sir. Sir, it is a free of cost supply, but supply has to be valued, ना. कैसे लगेगा सर, अगर सामने वाले को फुल आईटीसी नहीं मिल रहा है तो? क्योंकि पहले तो आपको रूल 28 में जाना है ना. रूल 28 इज द रिलेटेड पार्टी. सी, दैट इज व्हाट द सेक्शन इज सेइंग. 15(1), सेक्शन 15(1) जो है, जो भी आप प्राइस अनरिलेटेड पर्सन से चार्ज करते हो, मैंने अगर ये बॉटल इनको 5 रुपए में बेच सकता हूँ, इनको 1000 में बेच सकता हूँ, इनको 10 लाख में बेच सकता हूँ. इट इज अलाउड सो लॉन्ग एज दे आर अनरिलेटेड, इवन दो आर्बिट्री. बट अगर ये मेरा रिलेटेड है तो मैं इसको अगर 2 करोड़ में बेचूंगा ना, डिपार्टमेंट उसको भूल जाएगी. डिपार्टमेंट बोलेगी 2 करोड़ में नहीं, 5 करोड़ में करना था. दैट प्राइस विल बी इग्नोर्ड सर, एंड यू हैव टू गो टू रूल 28. रूल 28 में वैल्यूएशन करना है सर.
सर हम लोग ने इसमें इश्यू एक्चुअली प्रैक्टिकल रियल इशू, रियल लाइव इशू देखा हुआ था. दैट एक प्रेमाइसिस में 7 कंपनीज का रजिस्ट्रेशन लिया हुआ था, और वैसे ही एक सिमिलर प्रेमाइसिस को थर्ड पार्टी कोई एक बैंक को उसने लीज पे दिया हुआ था. तो बैंक को वाज चार्जिंग 8 लाख रुपीस पर मंथ एज अ रेंट. डिपार्टमेंट ने क्या किया कि दे टुक दैट 8 लाख रुपीस एज अ अनरिलेटेड पार्टी वैल्यूएशन, और बाकी सारी की सारी 7 कंपनीज के ऊपर चार्ज कर दिया. सो 8 लाख मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 7 कंपनीज पर मंथ, 56 लाख रुपीस पर मंथ, मल्टीप्लाइड फर्दर बाय 12 मंथ्स. एक साल कुछ 1 करोड़ समथिंग फॉर 1 ईयर. ये एक्चुअल प्रैक्टिकल इशू देखा हुआ है हमने.
तो therefore in many merchant export cases only, merchant exporters में ही generally ये होता है, because you open it many entities in a one place and you forgot this provision also exists. हाँ सर, मिल सकता है ना सर, मिल सकता है ना, कंसेंट मिल सकता है ना सर. हाँ सर, हाँ तो और वर्स्ट है ना सर, रिलेटेड पार्टी हो ना आप, तो आप रिलेटेड पर्सन हो गए ना सर. तो भी सप्लाई, दैट्स ओनली आई एम सेइंग ना सर. जीएसटी लॉ में बोला है अगर आपने कुछ भी नहीं किया तो भी सप्लाई है. वो 5 स्टार का ऐड नहीं था कि अच्छा है तूने कुछ नहीं किया वो गिर जाता है तभी, ये वैसा टाइप का है. कुछ नहीं करोगे तो भी सप्लाई है. दैट इज व्हाट द लॉ इज टुडे. शेड्यूल 1 एंट्री 2, शेड्यूल 1 of the CGST Act entry 2.
Now, 2, 3 things in merchant exporter. One is that drawback when we are claiming, I mean, when we are purchasing these goods from manufacturer and then exporting, these goods you may be exporting as such without any process. But suppose if you undertake some process, maybe just to see whether these goods what we are procuring, whether those are working or not, operational or not, in that case, department may deny you the benefit. The moment you operate, these goods will be considered work upon process in India, and therefore the benefit may not be given. There was a live case in mobile manufacturer. So mobile being manufactured by the manufacturer, those entire industry, the trading industry, merchant trade, they were procuring these mobiles, and those mobiles were to be used outside India. So therefore, what merchant these traders were doing is they will open this packet, they will put some SIM in India, and then they will just see this whether this is operational or not, just to make it effective, more effective this whether this is operational or not, so that this exercise need not be carried out at the customer side outside India. So today, suppose if without activity they do, then they will export $100. But if they do this activity, they will be able to export $101. So can you say that this is use of the mobile in India before exporting? No, but the CBIC circular issued saying that because the traders open this, and there is a rule in the drawback saying that if you undertake some operations before export, then drawback is not available. So therefore, this against the industry which they made this. Now we are before Supreme Court challenging this circular because this entire industry was only on this road tape and drawback. They were earning this margin. And if this drawback and road tape both benefit are denied, then this entire industry will get collapsed. So this is one thing. Second, when you have been operating under this and then you have been purchasing these goods, you have been exporting whatever goods manufactured by the supplier. You have been classifying these maybe based on your own understanding or whatever classification supplier is giving. Suppose if there is a misclassification or suppose if there is overvaluation, undervaluation, do you think that department will not catch you and then go to manufacturer only? So liability, first liability will be upon the exporter. Since you being exporter, whether you have manufactured or not, whether you know the correct classification or not, whether there is any misdescription, etc., the first liability will be upon the merchant exporter. So what remedy you have undertaken when you have purchased these goods from the manufacturer, whether you undertook, you have agreed some agreement, etc., with the manufacturer or not, that you have to see. So it's not merely the purchasing of the goods and then exporting. It's the entire responsibility you have taken before export. So the same responsibility, whatever manufacturer was having, that has been shifted onto you.
Sir, sorry, one more again detour one point. Sorry. The just to connect with the Ratan's point, now in GST, what we are seeing is whenever you are purchasing, thanks to me, whenever you are purchasing the goods as a merchant exporter from a manufacturer, obviously you will not be getting the goods in your factory or your warehouse or your premises because merchant exporter का concept ही क्या है कि you will be having a small premises, a small name only, namesake purpose. Factory of manufacturer will only show as a bill to area to you. Directly वो ship to करेगा customs port पे. Sir, of late we are seeing the issues from the department. अभी जो ASMT 10 level पे ही है, to some clients which we have seen is they are contending or basically they are basically disputing saying that you have not received the goods क्योंकि बिल टू आपको हुआ है, शिप टू आपके प्रीमाइसेस में नहीं हुआ है, शिप टू कस्टम्स में हुआ है, वहां आप रजिस्टर्ड नहीं हो. Very stupid argument because what they are saying is bill to and ship to has to be a recipient's premises only. Sir, 2008 2008 के पहले जब जीएसटी 18 में 17 से आया था तभी है ना शिप टू एड्रेस के अंदर है ना पोर्ट वाज आल्सो मेंशन्ड एज वन ऑफ द शिप टू एड्रेस. कस्टम्स पोर्ट वाज आल्सो मेंशन्ड इन द ड्रैग डाउन मेनू कि आप अगर उसको क्लिक करोगे ना तो उसने आपको बिल टू किया, फिजिकली आपने रिसीव नहीं किया, डायरेक्टली गुड्स वहां गया, करेक्ट, वो अलाउ कर देते थे. 2018 के बाद 28 सितंबर 2018 के बाद उन्होंने शिप टू एड्रेस सिर्फ और सिर्फ जो रिसिपिएंट के रजिस्ट्रेशन वाला जो भी एडिशनल प्लेस ऑफ बिजनेस दिखेगा ना ड्रैग डाउन में उसी को ही मानते हैं. जब सप्लायर शिप टू एड्रेस में कस्टम्स पोर्ट डाल रहा है, they are saying you have not received the goods because you will not have any case of GRN, you will not have any proof of consignment note. E-way bill will also show directly ये तो नवा शेवा या फिर कोई भी पोर्ट पे गया है करके. This is what the issue which is coming, sir.
And this will be more in case.
Sorry sir. No. Sir, CHA भी आपका registered नहीं है ना. They are making their CHA also registered. जी सर. Sir, that's only we are saying, sir. आपने क्या किया, परचेस कर दिया, CHA के वहां रख दिया, आप परचेस करके रख रहे हो, जैसे जैसे वैगन आ रहा है, सॉरी, या जैसे जैसे एक्सपोर्ट का जो भी आपका ये है, आप वैसे एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हो, करेक्ट. टिल दैट टाइम द गुड्स आर स्टोर्ड देयर ना. देयर इज अ प्रोविजन in the GST Act, there is a definition of place of business which says that if the goods are stored in a premises, of that also you have to take additional place of business. अगर आप मर्चेंट एक्सपोर्टर हो सारे, 41 ऑफ 17 नोटिफिकेशन तो पता ही होगा ना आपको, सबको पता होगा क्योंकि वो आपको ही दे रहा है बेनिफिट. 41 ऑफ 2017 आपको कंडीशन सेटिस्फाई करनी पड़ती है ना 0.1% का बेनिफिट लेने के लिए, उसमें ये लिखा हुआ है. When we also got to know from the client and because of sir litigation में यही benefit होता है. हाँ, litigation में क्या होता है सर, जब मैटर आते हैं ना then we multiply with other clients as a part of our those who are retainer clients, those who are normal clients. बिल्कुल correct. So that is what we are explaining ना, but they are not understanding. वो क्या बोल रहे हैं, हम आपको एक्सपोर्ट साइड में कोई बेनिफिट डिनाई नहीं करेंगे, एलयूटी साइड में कोई बेनिफिट डिनाई नहीं कर रहे हैं, आपको जो भी कस्टम्स बेनिफिट आ रहा है वो हम डिनाई नहीं कर रहे, हम आपको इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट डिनाई कर रहे हैं. हाँ,
The goods have been received by the exporter and it has been exported, or shipping will is a
Received
document
ना,
which proves that.
received ना. उस केस में क्या हो
Sir,
रहा था,
shipping
आप
will
जो
prove
केस
करता है वो चीज.
आप जो सनफ्लेक्स का डिसीजन बता रहे हो ना सर, उस केस में है ना, वो लोग क्या कर रहे थे पता है, फिजिकली गुड्स आता था सर, पॉजिटिव ऑफ टाइम जस्ट 2 मिनट्स, गुड्स फिजिकली आता था, अनलोड नहीं करते थे, जीआरएन बनाते थे और गुड्स जाता था. वही तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ ना, गुड्स. हाँ, वो लोग डिस्प्यूट कर रहे हैं, सेइंग दैट कि शिप टू एड्रेस कैनॉट बी अ एड्रेस अदर देन रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन का प्लेस ऑफ बिजनेस. इनफैक्ट दे आर रेडिंग वेरियस सीएचए सीएनएफ एजेंट्स. हाँ सर, हाँ करेक्ट.
In case of procurement from SEZ, because आप अगर SEZ से purchase करते हो, SEZ ने goods manufacture किया, SEZ local market में भी आपने purchase किया है, export किया है, तो भी अगर supplier ने e-way bill नहीं बनाया है, आपका GST cancel. Correct है. Sir, local से अगर आपने लिया है ना, तो then you can receive the goods. Merchant exporter के पास में goods आ सकता है. But अगर SEZ से आपने लिया है फिनिश गुड, तो वो आपके पास में आ नहीं सकता, वो डायरेक्टली पोर्ट पे जाएगा. दैट्स व्हाट रूल 45 से. तो उस केस में नीरव, व्हाट विल हैपन, सपोज इफ मैन्युफैक्चरर एसईजेड है, he manufacture the goods as per rule 45, he has to directly ship to the port, and then through merchant export he has to export, whether GST will be paid or not.
The GST is not required to be paid.
Correct. So this will not be merchanting trade, merchant export in that sense. This will be directly shipped to port and then goods will be exported, but shipping bill will be filed by
Because
merchant export.
SEZ rule allow that. वहाँ
But
एक
still, I
benefit.
think some may be paying. अगर आप ऐसा कर रहे हो, I think you may be paying also 0.1%.
Because you are not importing the goods into India by filing the bill of entry for home consumption, ना. That is the reason why we are arguing that. But जो normal है, उसमें problem है. And what Chaitanya has also pointed one more issue in this.
Just additionally, apart from what Nirav mentioned, in this very same transaction, like say the merchant exporter is located in Maharashtra, port is in Maharashtra, the original manufacturer is located in Gujarat. So the transaction between merchant exporter and manufacturer is on ex works basis. मतलब कि merchant exporter agrees कि I will collect the goods from your premises on ex work basis and transfer it to the port. Now here one issue which we have seen is that in bill to ship to cases, like credit rules etc. are saying that bill to party is deemed to be the recipient of the goods, even though the goods are there. But it's a very technical point. The section 10 of IGST Act that is saying that only in a case where the goods are delivered by that supplier, by the original supplier to some other third party on the direction of the merchant exporter, only in that case bill to party will be deemed to be the recipient. Here the issue we have seen is that manufacturer himself is not appointing transporter. He is not appointing the transporter, rather merchant exporter अपना खुद का transport लेके goods deliver करवा रहा है. तो यहाँ पे वो टेक्निकल पॉइंट है कि जो बिल टू शिफ्टिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट ये है कि वो जो ओरिजिनल सप्लायर है ही शुड बी डिलीवरिंग द गुड्स टू दैट अदर प्रीमाइसेस, तो आपका बिल टू शिफ्ट वैलिड है. अब आपके केस में तो एक्सपोर्टर ने ही कलेक्ट किया है, तो उसने डिलीवर नहीं किया है. इट्स अ वेरी वेरी टेक्निकल पॉइंट.
सर इसमें एक हाईकोर्ट का केस था, सॉरी टू इंटरप्ट, उसमें क्या हुआ था कि ई-वे बिल जनरेट नहीं किया था, सो डिपार्टमेंट डिनाइड एंटायर आईटीसी, सो द केस वेंट इनटू लिटिगेशन. देन ड्यूरिंग हियरिंग द जज सेड दैट कि डिपार्टमेंट के पास कोई प्रूफ है कि गुड्स डिलीवर नहीं हुआ, कि खाली ई-वे बिल मिसिंग है इसलिए आपने बोला, आगे का सप्लाई का प्रूफ है. तो डिपार्टमेंट सेड कि और कोई प्रूफ नहीं, बट ई-वे बिल इज मिसिंग, देयरफॉर वी आर डिनाइंग आईटीसी. एंड देन हाई कोर्ट clearly said that you cannot deny ITC just on the basis of your thinking or imagination.
Yes,
You
sir,
should
yes,
have a proof that it was some kind of a fraud
Yes,
or
sir.
goods did not move. तो वो लॉजिक यूज करेंगे तो फिर कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, आपको पोर्ट पे भी भेजो, वहां से शिपिंग बिल बना के भेजो, आईटीसी कैन नॉट बी डिनाइड.
Sir, that is what we are arguing in the litigation. But now what technical point they are putting is, goods जब directly जा रहा है, वो ship to address के अंदर मुझे सिर्फ और सिर्फ recipient का जो भी additional place of business है, मुझे वही registration numbers चाहिए या वही data चाहिए बस. Customs port cannot be that. That is what the technical point which they are putting. बाकी आप पूरा correlation समझाओ, बताओ, goods actually गया है, मिला है, वो सब हम कर रहे हैं.
Is it not a contradictory, let's say, as you mentioned, the manufacturer is based out of Gujarat. I am based in Maharashtra, and the port is, let's say, Chennai. Or now, it could be any third state port.
Yes.
Now, the manufacturer, as per SC, and let's say the manufacturer is from SEZ, and as one of you said that it cannot be shipped to the buyer's premises, it has to directly go to the port.
Correct.
In that case, how will the buyer will receive the shipment or the stocks or the goods in these premises?
So he need not receive this goods because there will not be GST implication in the hands of merchant.
GST नहीं है ना.
Because these goods will directly.
See, the manufacturer is in Gujarat, I'm in Maharashtra, and the port is, let's say, Navashiva. And as per the SEZ regulation, you said the shipment has to directly go to the port.
Correct.
So it will be billed to me and shipped to the port. Now, in that case, port is not me.
So that case is different compared to DTA situation. जहाँ मैन्युफैक्चरर भी DTA है, मर्चेंट एक्सपोर्टर भी DTA है, उस सिचुएशन की बात कर रहे हैं. आप जो बता रहे हो वो सिचुएशन में मैन्युफैक्चरर SEZ है और मर्चेंट एक्सपोर्टर DTA है, वो सिचुएशन में ये नहीं लगेगा. हाँ.
And now coming to the specific, to the pharmaceutical industry or pharmaceutical trade, the port doesn't have a drug license or the CHA doesn't have a drug license.
Correct.
So
How
can
you store that?
How can you enter into an agreement with the CHA, and with how many people the CHA will enter into an agreement with his customers? Because in this one premises, he can, the FDA will give license to only one customer.
Correct.
And if the CHA has 100 customers, how can the FDA give 100 licenses?
They need not give, no, sir, because in that case, so the manufacturer will be having the license. Who will import the API and then manufacture the bulk drug? Those only will be exported through you, through merchant exporter. So those goods need not come to you. Those will directly go to the port only.
What sir is saying कि अगर हम लोग CHA के लाइसेंस, सर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट GST रजिस्ट्रेशन, नॉट FDA रजिस्ट्रेशन.
Especially coming to pharmaceutical.
Port is in Gujarat. So you will say that Gujarat has to come Bombay, and then again Bombay to go to the Gujarat port.
Technically, sir, if you want a credit of 0.1, then you. But if 0.1 is not a big amount, then.
They have also charged a full entire amount of GST.
Problem है ना sir. You have not received the goods, na. That is what the technical argument which they are putting. As what rightly he said, na, we are arguing the same thing for the client. You have constructive receipt बोलते हैं, constructive receipt बोलते हैं कि अगर मैंने प्रत्युष को माल बेच दिया और आपको मैंने दे दिया, प्रत्युष ने बोला आपको भी बेचना, मैंने डायरेक्टली आपको दे दिया, तो ये डीम टू हैव रिसीव्ड, उसे कंस्ट्रक्टिव रिसीव्ड बोलते हैं. दैट इज व्हाट द कंसेप्ट व्हिच, सो दैट्स ओनली ना, the if the department are from the state, they are very much this, because they are mostly having the concept of this, but if they are from center, they easily understand this concept. Other
40 feet container वहाँ से इधर आएगा, वहाँ से again go back.
Impossible. You file a representation through Fpme. You file a representation. Okay, this kind of situation you give clarity, because this is practically impossible. So you deemed that even in direct situation it is received by me. File karo representation. Nothing wrong, ना sir. So because अभी तो क्या है कि 50 होने वाले नवंबर में. Before that you can file it. Yes sir, you are saying something.
Yes sir. To avoid this status, what would be available by
That's what Neeraj said, no sir, we should make representation because High Court has been entertaining. but each of you may not go to high court. And you know the department, the lower level officials, no, they are just not giving so importance of the high court decision. They say that high court order is in favor in name of so and so entity. You also get high court order, we'll give you the relief. That kind of reaction or the response the client has been getting. So you are not in position to go to high court. So therefore, better to make representation and through board you seek clarification. That's what it will avoid unnecessary dispute. That's what the suggestion we can give. Thank you. We conclude now. Yeah, yeah. There is no restriction. No restriction.
Yes.
That is there. That restriction is there. Correct.
So that is a refund. In case of refund, they are restricting a refund to the extent of 1.5 times of the local value. Say for example, ये बॉटल आप इंडिया में 500 रुपए में बेच रहे हो और आप एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हो ये 1000 रुपए में, तो जब रिफंड देना होता है ना, तो दे विल गिव यू ओनली टू द एक्सटेंट ऑफ 150 rupees. That is in the rule, and that rule is also been struck down in some high court cases. Karnataka is struck down.
Sir, in case of advance authorization of manufacturers, can merchant exporter export under IGST?
Sorry, sir?
Agar advance authorization is in the name of manufacturer, and merchant exporter is buying from the goods manufactured with advance authorization from manufacturer. So can merchant exporter can export under IGST?
If the manufacturer has charged full GST from merchant exporter, then merchant exporter can export on payment of IGST.
Short of time, so we can take some questions afterwards when they are outside. Yeah, I would like to take opportunity to thank the entire LKS team for the very interactive session. I'm sure you will contact some of them. They will give their contact numbers. Now I'd like to introduce our valued sponsor from Yes Bank, Ms. Aloka Rajan. She's Senior VP Program Lead, SME Liabilities and Alliances, and they have supported our program. So big round of applause for Yes Bank and her.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, all. We'll keep it short since we are towards the end of the session. We have Amin Bhatt from the Yes Bank team. He looks after the SME loans lending. We have Kapil Sajjak from the Trade and Forex team, right? So we just wanted to take you all through a short session what Yes Bank does from the MSME perspective, what we do for the banking, what we do from the lending perspective, and what are the products and trade forex. So as we can see, we have a complete geography. Yes Bank has across 1,300 branches. So we completely pan-India. We are there in the metros, rural, semi-urban. And we take up cases, agar branch mein nahi hai, even if there's a requirement, then the nearest branch fulfills the requirement for lending. Right? Then we have products. In products, we cover, we will take you through our detailed products. Fund-backed, non-fund-based limits is what we set. One offering which is really good is our digital platform, DLP, digital lending platform. So if you see today, if you're an MSME client and if you visit a bank, most public sector banks will still insist on a lot of paperwork. Yes Bank has that advantage कि अभी we are completely digital. So अगर आपके you are private limited, आपके GST and everything is online, we are also able to onboard you in terms of lending completely through the digital lending platform. In terms of manpower, we have 900 RMs across, pan India. So generally the cases come to us through branches or through a reference model. So we have a complete manpower strength to fulfill the MSME requirements. In terms of technology, Yes Bank obviously is positioned as one of the most, fastest growing digitally enabled banks. So even in terms of our transactions, just an insight from you all, 40% of today's India's transactions are now routed digitally, which is very strong statement to make because Yes Bank is there in the top 3 banks where digital transactions are concerned. So here also we use we have our own app called Yes MSME, where MSME clients can go through this app and completely do their payments, their collections, salary payments, bulk payments, vendor payments completely online हो सकता है. That is what we enable. In terms of the overall products from lending, in fund-based, we have our CC, we have overdraft. Overdraft में we do it against FDs, against अगर कोई merchant है, उसका cost collections है, we also lend against costs, which is something unique. We have a working capital, short-term, long-term, WCDL है. Bill discounting, pre-shipment, post-shipment, and in non-fund-based, we have our BG, LC, and buyer's credit, which obviously Bhavin will take us through in detail. In terms of program offerings, something unique again from Yes Bank is we do something called surrogate based. So in surrogate, अगर आपका banking है, we have a whole transaction of 12-month statement. We simply take the bank statement and look at how much we can lend to the client, because आपका entire payment collections, your credits, debits are routed through the bank. So using the bank statement, that is a bank surrogate model where we look at lending. Right, so there we look at lending anywhere from a 10 lakh to a 3 crore limit, and it's obviously much more faster. Paperwork is lesser, so the limits are set much more faster. Non-surrogate model में we will insist on more paperwork because आपका banking नहीं है, we will not be able to ascertain debit credit. So we ask for GST returns and other such documents. उसमें भी we lend the same 10 lakhs to around 3.75 75 crores. CGT, I know the government is promoting CGT MSE in a very big way, where we lend again up to 5 crores now. Earlier limit was 2 crores, now it is up to 5 crores without collateral. Right, so that is again something that Yes Bank is one of the top 3 banks in the CGT MSE scheme, where wherever the cases are possible to lend under CGT MSE बिना collateral का, we ensure that we take it those cases under CGT MSE. I hope all of you all know, of course, Amit will take us in detail. But basically, these are schemes and programs where the bank, along with support of the government, ensure that no MSME should suffer. Agar unka collateral nahi hai, it is fine. We can still lend up to 5 crores under CGT MSE scheme, provided certain fundamental requirements from the bank are met. Udyam registration, फिर उनका revenue generation, all of that is seen, and we look at CGT MSE lending there. One more very good offering from Yes Bank is our CGSS scheme, right? So credit guarantee scheme for startups. So agar there is an MSME in the startup space, right, and they require funding, we can look at it under CGSS. So here also we look at up to 10 crores of funding. Under CGSS, you need to have your DPIIT certificate registration there. And again, the bank will take certain calls in terms of revenue generation, what is the projection model and everything. But again, for startups, it's a very good situation, because if you are a startup today, you do not have collateral, you can still approach the bank under CGSS. Right, so clearly we can see that Yes Bank is very bullish on the MSME sector, and we do not want to lose cases. किसी का collateral नहीं है, it is fine. We still look to fund them under some means and forms under these schemes. So Amit, you want to cover
Yeah, evening everyone. So my name is Amit Bhatt. I would like to talk about the Yes Strike program. The Yes Strike is basically an entry strategy for Yes Bank to lend to a company. What we do here is we lend up to 5 crore unsecured. Now, when I say unsecured, it's not an unsecured product for life. It's an unsecured product for 12 months. It is a way to enter, with you as a partner in you, in terms of understanding your requirements of future, and you also understand how bank is doing in terms of servicing. We will have to get secured in 12 months time. What I mean by that is that when I give you a 5 crore limit, within 12 months I need to get secured. Now there are 3 ways I can get secured. One is I take over an existing bank. Second, we get into a multiple banking where we exchange pari passu. And third is you give me a new property. So this is an entry strategy program launched by Yes Bank. It's a very, very unique program. We give all kinds of facilities, right from export finance to import finance to your WCDL to LC bank guarantees. So, of course, over a one-on-one discussion, we can have more discussions on this. Thank you.
Evening, everyone. I'm Bhavin Garcha. So we discussed a lot about the lending products that we are offering, which will be beneficial for you. So before I mess out, I would like to highlight that we are one of the best deposit interest rate giving bank in the country. So apart from the lending, we are good on the liability side as well. We have amazing offers on liability products, which the bank calls liability, but which are pure current account and deposit products. Moving on, specific to exports, I made you aware that you all are exporters. So you would understand what all I have put up on this slide. That you have all the financing products available to you customized for exporters. On the pre-shipment side, you have packing credit in rupee, be it in FCY. Similarly, on the post-shipment, you have post-shipment credits in rupee or in FCY. Then you have LC bill discounting facility. So this predominantly happens on bank-to-bank lines, and you do not require to provide any collateral or margins when it is LC bill discounting. If there is a bank line available. The most exciting product here is the last one, which is factoring. Okay, I'll touch a bit upon it going ahead. And then, of course, hedging products. My fellow colleagues who discussed a lot about what all are there, your road tax, your GST, your export incentives, and they did touch upon INR, special rupee wash to accounts, and why they came into picture, because a lot of time, country like us wants to promote rupee, yes, fine. They also want exporters to ensure that they don't lose on the foreign currency exchange fluctuations, right? But you also have hedging products available. On the other side, you may even gain. I'm sure people who are in the market, who have been into exports for long, you would realize that a US dollar or a euro or a GBP, everyone has appreciated significantly over the rupee. So we are a normally depreciating currency. So you would see 3 or 4% given every year you would depreciate. Barring last few years, there has been very different thanks to RBI intervention. Otherwise, you would see a normal depreciation of 3 to 4 rupees. Now, whenever this forward differential is high, you would gain by booking forward contracts, a simple hedging product which is available. So there are other products also we offer. We offer your foreign currency long-term loans. That also you can hedge. Now, when the interest rate scenarios reverse from what they are right now, or look at 3 years back the line, USD interest rates were 0. People have taken term loans for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years at 3%. Now that's possible because there were products available. We were giving products to the customers with swap. So your interest rate is fixed for 5 years. So today they are just paying 3% or 4% on a dollar loan. Whereas today, if you borrow short-term dollar also, it's not less than 6.5%, 7%. What I told you that I'll touch about factoring. Factoring is basically a product where I can finance you for all your post-shipment requirement. Currently for US, and this is without any collateral. So you do not provide me any collateral. There might not be any LC linked to it. But if I am able to establish a buyer whom I can able to take a cover on, if I am comfortable to take a cover on your buyer, I'll give you credit up to 80% on your post shipment requirements. So just a brief on it, and then if you are interested, definitely we can get into details. So some of you would be importing as well, because still a lot of raw materials or APIs that go into pharma are imported, while we have come up significantly and we've seen manufacturing come up. So we have customized products available for import finance as well. One of the most unique products that we actually launched after the most famous Nirav Modi case is what we call as loan against import, where we even fund you for your advance import payments in foreign currency. Not a lot of banks do that, because if you want to avail buyer's credit, which was erstwhile issued against the LOU, gets issued against an SBLC today. So without an SBLC, I can give you import finance in foreign currency. Apart from the normal banking products that we have, customized products that we talked about, a non-collateral product, get an entry so that you get a feel of Yes Bank. This is the entire value chain that you offer. So today, if you go to our website and you look at Yes Connect, which resides over and above yesbank.in, okay, we have something called as Yes Connect, where we partner through all different kind of service providers which are non-banking services, be it logistic partners, be it taxation partners. So we have tie-ups with all of this. So you just go on our portal, look at your requirement, and you will have some or the other solution available. So we're trying to be up there digitally, not just on the banking side, but on your overall business ecosystem. So that's it from my end. We are open for questions. So Udyam registration is available for even traders. Yes.
Adding AD code of another bank, second bank, what is the process experience that came from shifting from one bank to another for AD code for the fourth?
Yeah, it's quite smooth. You just need to take an AD code letter from us now, and there are a lot of codes we do it digitally. So not you don't even require physical codes. One technical problem which I had come across, and there was a lot of question answer happened around this, is that most of the experts were saying that now one port only allows one AD bank, right? So that was a big issue. Okay, the technical solution to that is that there are multiple ports in India. You add the AD code, another AD code in any other port, then subsequently you can use that in that port also. Example, अभी नावा शिवा में आपका AD code is VS Bank, okay, and you want to add SDFC. So there it might not allow, but you first add it at Mudra SDFC, and then you can use that SDFC at Nava Shiva. So that's the way it is designed. And a lot of people are getting confused. No, one port only one AD is allowed. No, you can have multiple ADs at multiple ports. Yeah. So if I understand your question correctly, you could have a SB launched in one bank, you could have a remittance in another bank. How do I ensure my entire AD payment is regular? Correct? So two ways of it. One, wherever you launch your bills, okay, try and get the remittance there. Even if you got the remittance in that bank, you can do an 80 to 80 transfer. Okay, EFC to EFC transfer, you can do a funds. That is one option. Okay, in that again there will be a SWIFT involved. It's as good as doing an outward remittance. Other is that you take a credit there, ask that bank to give you a NOC. Okay, take a letter from that this is so and so, and against this you provide that with the bank where the shipping bill is, or doing that will ensure you can close it over there. Or on the EDPMS portal itself, the AD can do it once you have the instructions shared. And now all your UPRCs are being generated by yourself. Now AD has also come out from there. So I just want to highlight one more point. The opportunity that Russia created. Okay, a lot of people say war and all that is. It has created a lot of opportunity for India. I am sure everyone is aware. One of the biggest opportunity for us that we got cheap oil. Okay, if that wasn't the case, our inflation would have shot up significantly. I'm sure everyone is aware. On the other side, it has opened avenues for business in India to export to Russia. Okay. Now we take pride in saying that we are one of the first bank who had opened Nostro with a Russian bank. Okay. So we take pride in saying today, if you want to do exports to Russia, you want to import from Russia, we can settle the transaction in Russian ruble. And we have been doing this successfully pre-war and post-war. Okay, even after the sanctions, we are doing the transactions of Russia smoothly. So if you want to partner with us on that front, we will be more than happy to do it. A lot of banks are not comfortable handling Russian transactions.
For imports, you are giving foreign currency loan.
Yes, sir.
That is for what period? 60 days, 90 days, or how?
So depending whatever is your assessment cycle. If I see that your working capital gap is for 60 or 90 days, I give for 90. If it is 120, I give 120. That will entirely depend on the assessment that we've done. Similar to, sir, if I give you export packing credit also, whatever cycle we agree on, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, we will give it.
The interest rate would be LIBOR plus something.
Absolutely. So LIBOR is no more into existence. The new term for US dollar is SOFR. And it is earlier LIBOR is now replaced by something called as ARR. So every currency has its own benchmark. That's the only difference. So it will be SOFR plus, not linked to repo, but linked to whatever currency you are funding.
So, for Russian ruble, with which Russian bank you have tied up for Vostro and is it sanctioned?
AO Unicredit. And this bank is not under sanction. So if it comes under sanction, we'll have to find another.
I think that was really wonderful session.
So the team will give their contact details because I see a host of benefits, which some of them even were very comprehensive and integrated. So I think members will find value, and those members who are on the Zoom as well as on our group, they will be shared the contact details where they can contact and know more about the information that was provided today. Along with the slides, which can be shared. Yes. So with that, I bring this program to a close. And I would like to propose a vote of thanks, first of all, to our sponsors here. And, we will hand over a token of the memory. I would like to invite Mr. Kamlesh for our president of Fpme to hand over a small memento to each of our speakers today, and starting with the sponsor, and then we'll cover LKS team also to come since they're already here. So Mr. Mehul will explain what this is. Kind of putting a green footprint.
It's a plan.
And it, for your office space, I think the instructions are.
There's a small also where you have cold water in.
So,
water, basically, so that you remember that Fpme.
so we have not put any brand or logo, but that memory will come automatically. We hope. So, thank you. Yeah, then we have more. So. Now we call the LKS team. Please come. We request one photo with all the sponsors and the speakers, just at the backside, please. We want the entire Yes Bank team also, because this will go on our website as well as the other PR activities and a magazine. So, Kamlesh bhai, request to come. Safe travels and looking forward to more participation from all our Fpme members in the coming events. We request your suggestions on other topics, and we will get the best speaker like we have today, and we'll continue this event for benefit of members. Have a good evening. Thank you.